Good evening. I call to order the Monroe Public Schools Board of Education Special Work Session. Today is Monday, May 11th, 2026, and the time is 5:30 PM. Jamie, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Heck.
Here.
Mr. Jenkins.
Here.
Ms. Myers.
Here.
Mr. Sabadini.
Here.
Mrs. Tarasi.
Here.
Mrs. Vincent.
Here.
Mrs. Williams.
Here.
Can we please stand for the pledge? Before we begin, please note this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. There are two cameras in use this evening, one focused on the Board of Education and another one that may be used during any public commentary or presentations. By participating in this meeting, you acknowledge that you may be captured on video. Thank you for your understanding and for joining us tonight. Next is discussion items, and I will turn it over to Superintendent Shaw.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. Sharing my screen, and hopefully it pops up correctly. Oh, good, it does. So last Monday night we met. We talked about $5.3 million in reductions, and tonight we're here to go over the remaining work that has been done last week, going into this week here. You can see that with what was presented to you from last week, and then what we're going to go over tonight tallies almost $5.7 million. So that's the equivalent. We didn't reach that goal of the 5.5. Know that as we go through this, I got some questions for you, but I want to take and address questions that arose from last week, so we can take care of those right out of the top of the hour. The first one had to do with tutors and academic support staff, and so we added that into our document for you. There's a document there, it's a little bit bigger print. So Terry, you want to talk a little bit about the academic tutors and academic support numbers?
Sure. So I believe those were added into the spreadsheet. So we have the number of people. It is, Cassie,
Big one? Yes.
the long one. So the numbers that are represented in that sheet are the current number of academic tutors and interventionists that we have in each building. Our projections for next year might have to shift yet once we finish studying our grant allocations that we receive. Those might be adjusted slightly, but you do have the current projections that we have for, or not projections, the current number that we have for this year. There was also a question about what the difference was between an academic tutor and an interventionist. And an interventionist is a certified teacher. For us, most of our interventionists are actually retired MPS teachers that have come back to do that position for us. An academic tutor does not have a teaching certificate. So I don't know if there's any other questions.
So I don't actually think it was my question, but I actually made a note of that today. So in the academic tutors, I was like wanting to know what their role is. I mean, what specifically, like I was like, where could I find a job duties or something like that so I could understand it more? What would be a quick way to explain that to me?
So students who are struggling in reading or in math during their, at the elementary level, during their IE time, which is their enrichment and intervention time, small groups of students will go with either a classroom teacher, an interventionist, or an academic tutor to receive academic support. With the academic tutors, the teachers are very much involved in telling the academic tutor what it is that the student needs. So whether it's working on fluency or comprehension, whatever that skill is, the teacher lets the academic tutor know that, and then also provides them with the resources to be able to support students with reaching higher levels of skill in that area.
And interventionists?
Interventionists do pretty much the same thing. except the teacher isn't as involved in supporting them because these are retired teachers, so they do know. They've taught kids how to read and write and do math for many, many years, so they're coming in with a different skill set. So with the interventionists, the teacher does let them know what the students need to work on, but doesn't provide as much guidance to that particular staff position.
Do they hold a teaching certificate or retired and they don't?
Retired people, the retired teachers,
Do they still have teaching certificate or they may or may not spend when it
they may or
elapses?
may not.
Okay. Thank you.
So if an interventionist are certified teachers and academic tutors are not,
Correct.
how can interventionists be a retired teacher that has not maintained their certification?
The ones that we do have on the books all maintain their teaching
Okay.
certificate.
Okay,
They
thanks.
do have a teaching certificate.
Right,
Correct.
right. So where do they house? Do they have like their own space, their own rooms, their own whatnot in either of these?
So they are assigned to a particular building that they report to every day on a consistent basis. So buildings do not share those positions. And then in terms of where they're housed, some of them might have a small office that they work in. Some of them may have a shared space. Because typically they would only have 3 to 5 students at a time. So it's just a small group of kids.
Do any of them work within the classroom during the day at all?
They may. So if there's time in their schedule and let's say that a principal has a classroom that has a lot of students who are not where they need to be in reading, if their schedule allows, the principal could schedule that person into the classroom during reading workshop to work with kids, listen to kids read, help monitor progress.
Yeah, because I remember when I was in the building, I had a hard time figuring out job positions because they called stuff different. I already
Sure.
brought that up, so I'm trying to correlate.
Sure.
that. So in that, they were broken out into, I'm going to say this, and I hope it's right, green, yellow, red, or colors
Okay,
into
could be.
subcategories. So is that the role that they would play as well, or not necessarily?
I'm not quite sure what the colors refer to.
Oh, wasn't that like the academic charts? Tiers. Tiers.
Oh, the tiers.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes. So on that, the tier 1, that's the green. That's the instruction that all students receive. And then tier 2 is yellow and tier 3
And so
is
those
red.
group breakouts would be the 2
Yes,
and 3.
yes. So when we
Okay.
think about providing extra academic support to those students who are in tier 2 and tier 3, that would be part of the team
Okay.
that would provide those extra supports to them. Thank you for clarifying the color.
Yeah, I was like, the colors.
I couldn't picture in my mind.
Do they do anything with behavioral PBIS and behavioral supports or anything like that?
Not so much.
Okay.
No.
Those were my main questions. Thank you.
So the next question that came up was with ProMedica. So we met with ProMedica last week. They're going to come in and do a presentation with the board because they basically just had raw data for me. But in the 24 year now, they work off January through December. That was their year, not the school year. They had 1,187 visits that were accounted for at the high school. The doctor saw 173, the therapist 826, and the nurse 188.
Say those again.
Yeah, start
Please.
from the beginning.
Not
So-
the
Like I said,
11.
they're going to bring the data in for you. So the doctor had 173 visits that year, 826 for the therapist, and then the nurse had 188. The following year, in 25, the doctor had 248, the therapist 760, and the nurse 68. We're 4 months in, and their numbers right now, even in this current year, from January to now, are tracking just like they had in the past. Like, so they're about 100 visits reduced last year from the year prior, but it's tracking exactly the same. So the question came like, what does ProMedica support for Monroe Public Schools and mainly at the high school? So they see and take in a lot of our students who are on Medicaid, and so they're supporting our Medicaid students. Their descriptors were parents, many times students will come in with some, whatever ailment, they'll make a phone call that they can see, and then the doctor will then determine, is it a sore throat, earache, whatever it is, and then help prescribe, and then make the prescription so the parent can go pick it up. And so it works just like a regular clinic that parents would go to outside of the school system. They also do the same thing for our employees. So a lot of times our employees will, on their prep time, visit and do the same method. With the doctor and also the therapist, that can all be done through telehealth. And I know the doctor is in the building. I believe it was if I remember right, I believe it was 2 days a week, or sorry, 2 days, maybe 2 days a month. They're going to clarify that. So when I really asked them, like, so what is the, what's a way that we can generate revenue? And that's really getting, and having this as an opportunity for our staff to both the therapy side to the doctor side. Because for some staff, they really appreciate it. Like, they weren't feeling well, saw the doctor, got the prescription on their way home, and they stayed at work. And same goes for students. And so the flip is, though, I said, well, how can we reduce some costs this year? And they felt the number one way they could do that is reducing the nurse by 1 hour at the end of the day. The beginning of the day, it's more busy there. And they, when they, the student, I can disclose this one in here, and I'll feel the pain for it later on, but it's worth it. So lots of times kids will come in and they'll have whatever the ailment is. And so, just for clarity's sake, our kids are not to be carrying medication with them. And so that goes for our girls. And so this is going to be, I'm going to turn red here. Y'all got where I'm going, right? Beautiful. So one of the things that they said is, though, we have kids, though, that do not even have pain medication at home. So they'll come in, they'll get it, and so because of the Medicaid
You're
side.
off the hook.
So I appreciate you not forcing me to go the full distance there. And so in talking with the hospital or with the system, it's one that provides us a lot of benefit and supports for the parents. Again, they're going to come in and do a full presentation on what they do. One of the things that the doctor wants to do is using one of their docs that are going through the system is do a study this coming summer about students that are still come into their system and their attendance. Because one of the thought patterns has always been for me is, does it keep kids in school? Having the health center there, and so that takes a little bit of work to dig into student attendance along with who's coming in. But that's one of those projects that he wants to take on this summer to validate, is that a factor. I know it is. So those were the things that they shared with me, but I would love to answer any questions that you might have.
Can you just repeat which are the two people that offer the telehealth option, the doctor and the
Therapist.
therapist? Thank you.
So I was just filling this out. So the clinic, we show 5 staff, we pay 80/20 on this.
It might be 5 staff. The total
It says
cost-
5
Yeah,
staff.
but yeah.
I'm just reading the paperwork
Yep.
on the staffing chart.
Nope.
2 RNs
I don't know.
and
how, so
8 health liaisons.
we don't pay that much though.
The
80/20.
RNs and the health liaisons are the ones that we employ and have in our buildings. Those
Okay,
are
so
not
we
the
have-
ProMedica ones.
Yeah.
So we have 2 RNs and 8 health liaisons, plus the clinic has 5 staff.
The clinic is independent, yes.
Yeah, well, we pay 80/20 of that.
Correct.
But what we're paying is on the clinic nurse, for the 80% is not to exceed $54,848. And then the therapist, not to exceed $74,687. That
Yeah.
was last
And
year's extension. So,
Believe they probably have counted Dr. Shank in there, and they possibly have like an as-needed nurse or nurses that fill in as
Can
well.
we get
we
the-
don't get billed for him. We just get billed.
Yeah,
Right,
right,
no,
'cause that's
I'm just talking
telehealth.
about the staff,
No,
the
this is all we
quantity,
get billed for, what I just said.
the quantity of 5 that they have on the staffing chart. I think they may have included Dr. Shank.
They might-
Okay,
I don't
of
think
that
they-
I was
five,
just
it's
trying
an
to-
80-20.
Of
Of the five, that's an 80-20 split. Of the 2 RNs and 8 healthy liaisons,
No.
that's us.
So the only thing that's an 80-20 split is what's provided in the clinic. So that is the nurse and the therapist.
Oh, I
The
thought
other,
it was like-
the other 2 RNs are our school nurses that we employ. And the health liaisons are, that we employ at multiple buildings. So that's in addition to the clinic.
So, it says ProMedica,
Right.
one clinic, 5.
Right. So I believe that they're counting Dr. Shank, the nurse, the therapist, and some as-needed staff. So that's why it says 5.
Okay.
But we're only billed for actual time for the nurse and the therapist.
Okay, so it's an 80-20 on the 2.
Correct.
And then the RNs,
Those are RNs that we employ that cover
Okay.
all of our buildings
and
between the
then
2 of
health
them.
liaisons are
Those
ours.
are, we employ, and they're at pretty much all of our buildings.
So you're saying that you have,
Of the health liaisons.
what? Go ahead, Stacy.
I just wonder what the duties of our
I didn't hear that.
health liaisons.
Is your mic on?
Yeah.
What was the question?
What are the duties of the health liaisons?
The health liaisons are the primary go-to in the buildings for medication. According to the board policy, the medication disbursement. If kids come down to the room and they're feeling ill, I think they administer them. But and if the kid has a fever, they call home. I mean, they have they're the voice to the parent about a sick kid, normally. And every building has one. We do share between Riverside and Orchard, we share a person because we don't have a lot of drug distribution. And it's really based on, in following the board policy, that we have someone there and then we have a witness provided for them too, because we have to do it that way. It keeps us on the up and up with our distribution.
I remember when we just went through that policy, I remember when we went through it, we were looking at how those meds get dispensed. I didn't think it specified that we had to have any special person for that. It just had to be assigned to someone in the office.
Well, can I
Yeah.
go a little further? This really protects the dignity of the child because we have a lot of children that take a lot of medication for different reasons. And we have a lot of medically fragile diabetic kids. We have several epileptic kids, and the
Catheters and
yes,
colostomy
yeah,
bags.
and we have kids that we have to change their diapers, and that person is the pull-up probably. That health liaison is responsible for those sort of tasks.
And what kind of certification or?
They have CNAs, or some of them are LPNs.
Okay.
They like it because that job is really good for parents. If their kids go to Monroe, they're in school when they're working while their kids there, which is really nice. But the 2 RNs administer the work of the MICR, which MICR is a funding mechanism.
Talked about that today.
Okay. Yeah, the MICR is one of their primary responsibilities. And then you have one of the RNs that sits on the, what's your? SEEB, on the SEEB program.
You don't have meetings.
But anyway, that's what the function of the health liaison is.
Okay, I appreciate that input. So that would have nothing to do with the ProMedica company?
No, so remember the ProMedica, when it comes to their staffing model, yes, it's 80% of a nurse. And so our bill will not exceed $54,848.
For the 2 of them, or?
I don't care if it's 82. Our bill will not
Okay.
exceed $54,848. Same goes for the therapist at $74,687.
Okay.
Brian, you brought up a great point about the guard shack. And so we'd actually been looking at options for the guard shack from the technology side of it. And so Dave Payne has been putting that back on the docket to dive into what that will look like there. So more to come on that for you, okay? Monroe Middle School pool. So the middle school pool was a part of a conversation. We dove into that, and one of the big programs we have there is our Swim Safe program with our third graders. So all third graders have an opportunity. Our community ed program does use it, and so because of living next to a great lake and everything like that, it's just, I pulled that one off the table. That's not an option. So middle school swim program, pool is gonna stay open there. Sunday weekend costs. So Sundays, activities that go on there is mainly our junior NBA program and our volleyball program. The other one that does occur if needed is indoor soccer, but that's if they lose a Saturday somewhere that they need a Sunday. And so when we did that calculation for indoors for Sunday activities, that's roughly $50,000 of all the Sundays, because you're going to be getting into overtime based on the size of the group, length of the day. You can go from anywhere from one person to two, because it'll vary. So if we choose to, that's one of those areas where we could talk that one out.
What's your proposal?
My proposal is right now, so all the items that we are going through right here, this would be one I would recommend we do. It's one of those items that you can build in a year from now, or it can stay off. One of the benefits of having Sundays open too is it's a guaranteed day that our staff are not having to be at work. And so that's another benefit there. Planning ahead, staff can plan ahead for anything that would have been done on a Sunday, figure out a different time to put it into the system. And so that's where I sit with this one.
So that's currently not on here. is what you're
It is
saying.
on there.
It is
Yep.
on, okay.
It is a part of that one.
Okay.
It is there.
So are we like, because I know today is like the deadline day for some of this stuff. There really is an opportunity to push this stuff down the line.
So what happens is that if you guys have two, through conversation, your action can be done in two different ways. One is like, something, I believe that's an item that we as a board should have on the agenda. You place it on the agenda, or by passing the budget in June, you're saying implement the budget that's being proposed to you. So like basically the big part of the budget right now is being presented to you.
So up until now, there were only two things that we had a motion on. And that was the severance and
Yep.
the,
Orchard.
thank you.
Yep.
Everything else was an open discussion on kind of the temperature of where we wanted to go.
Yep.
So what other items do you believe would need to be a motion made for it, and anything else can be temperature
Yep,
gauge?
I'm gonna work right down through that list here for you over the next few minutes. Okay?
So you want us just to come back to anything on there?
Yes, as
Okay.
we go through this right here, if there's something else from last Monday, this is the night to bring that up. The next question came was 31A money, how much of that was general fund? And that's approximately $50,000 was used from general fund. Childcare, sorry, I'm pulling my notes out quickly. So we gave you the childcare breakdown for Riverside. And I'm gonna have Cassie take this one only because I know she knows this one inside and out.
Sorry. The last several years, we have shown a loss on the program. However, in that same period, we've also been offering a discount to our staff members for using the services. Now, Mrs. Kipp and Mrs. Flynn typically meet in the spring to discuss if a rate increase is needed for the subsequent year. I would anticipate that Mrs. Kiff is going to present something to us soon, and I would anticipate that she would adjust that rate up a little bit by hour. And we do participate in DHHS funding if a family is eligible for that support and receive payments directly from the state. We should also probably going to be talking with Mrs. Kipp if we want to continue offering the 50% off to staff members. If we want to change that, we consider that a benefit that we're offering to our staff members to utilize our services versus another childcare in the area. Does anyone have a specific question?
How much loss?
The spreadsheet that Mr. Shaw sent out,
$92,807.91.
Yep.
That was just current to date this year.
It runs about
Last year was
$100,000.
About
the year before was
$100,000.
113 plus expenditures. So it operated at a loss due to revenues.
No, that's my point, is it
Yeah.
operates at about $100,000 loss per year.
Right.
If I may, can I add something? The part of the issue that we have with our program is we have to follow the Laura mandates for daycare. And the ratios adult to child are very small. So like on a Wednesday when we have a early release or we have a lot of people there, they have to double up in staff because they have to have, if a Laura inspector would come in and find us not to ratio, we get fined. And we want to be, we always want an A on our reviews. We don't want to be, we want to keep kids safe. So that's the reason why and plus they were given raises through the state during COVID. They were giving monetary raises or money for them. And their rate was at $9.95. So we had to move them up from that first year that you quoted. That was the first year where we had to raise the wage.
Yeah, because that would have been after I didn't go back further because it's a bit skewed because we did receive childcare grants from the state. So when I tried to pull that data, it was a little skewed and wonky. But yeah, and with the minimum wage has gone up as well, and we've tried to right size their rates to be comparable with what we're paying our paraprofessionals as well.
Yep.
So this is one of those programs, correct me if I'm wrong, that began because we had an influx of COVID money. And it allowed us an opportunity to be able to get into the childcare realm and to create a avenue for staff to be able to receive that benefit.
We've had
COVID money runs out.
I don't mean to cut you off, but
No,
we've
cut
had
me off.
Riverside Kids Club for a significant number of years. And we used to also have a site at Custer Elementary that was only before and after school, and Hollywood was preemie, but
This says the child care programs are receiving COVID-19 grant fund to offset expenses.
for the couple of years prior to the information that I pulled, not that
Yeah.
we only just began them those years.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We've been operating them for a significant amount of time.
But prior to that, it was the staff just paid for it just like a regular child care.
Correct.
But
And
we
then-
thought for recruitment, it was a selling point. We could get people to come here with kids to know that they could bring at least their 3-year-old to us and pay half daycare.
So I guess my question becomes, why not just have it a third party rather than us run child care centers and contract
Well,
with them?
we do have a lot of our,
Almost, yeah.
most of the workers are EDU staff.
All except Mrs. Kipp and then 2 retired childcare workers are employed through EduStaff.
Yeah.
Paid by,
We pay EduStaff there.
okay, we still pay for them.
Well, we would still have to pay if we had another company.
Right, that's my point.
But if they're a retiree of our system, we have to pay them through Monroe. And then Paula, as the lead or the supervisor of the program, she is paid by Monroe.
I'm just throwing it out there. So when we look at the stuffs that we're cutting stuff for $10,000, $20,000, up to hundreds of thousands of dollars, and $100,000 is not chump change in comparison to some of the other things we're looking at cutting. So it may just be one of those things we want to look at and say, where's the value in some of these things? We can't do them all.
Well, maybe we talk about the discount rate being different, right? So you go from right, 25 to 30%. I think it's a good thing to keep. And I agree that it's a good recruitment tool because it also allows the teacher to be close to their child, which is also a secondary benefit. So if we were to do 25, we won't know until Ms. Kiff comes with the rate, but
Right.
maybe that would,
She hasn't set a meeting with Mrs. Flynn and I'm assuming she would include me this year. So that's, I mean, that was a wondering I had when I was pulling the data and when I've been seeing that information, but until we have that discussion and the impact on it.
Well, and plus we
That's
run
fair.
a summer program too.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what the rate is. That's something we need
It's-
to look at because
yeah.
maybe that doesn't bring in the revenue like during school.
You're saying a
It's
summer
this-
program for teachers who do
For
summer school?
kids club. Well,
Yeah. For anyone.
for
Oh,
anyone.
for anyone, okay.
And it's, I believe, Cindy, it's the same as during the school year rates.
Right, but I don't know how many students
Right.
attend.
But if,
Fair.
Yeah.
so if they're a staff member that is not working over the summer, they can still take their children to the childcare on a discounted rate.
Well,
I'm just asking. I don't know the answer.
I don't know the answer either. I don't think so because most of them, if they work in the summer, they work for us during summer school.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Right. I don't know for-
Theoretically speaking, if they're still on our books as an employee, whether they're working for us or not in the summer, in theory, yes, they would receive the discount.
More to come on that.
But that's one right there that we can generate more revenue on that. And what's that?
Oh,
We changed the mechanism.
just the rate,
Yeah.
yeah.
And-
I didn't know if you were looking at
Changing the
increasing
discount, increasing the-
And
anything.
Well,
we've had some, I'm sorry,
Yeah, go
I don't
ahead.
mean to interrupt you. We've had discussions at the cabinet level of altering the calendar that the Kids Club operates on, because currently it is closed on the week-long holiday breaks. And that's an opportunity that we could bring in some additional revenue by having students here instead of some other local places. Having them open on some of the closure days that they currently close for, which are the shorter breaks like Memorial Day, those every once in a while, Fridays off. But we haven't finalized that either.
And I would just like to compare and contrast, like, what is the cost savings for cutting out our Sunday activities versus taking on another extra couple weeks of childcare?
Sure.
Because you're going to have
Right.
all those other costs involved.
You know, it's a hard one because we do hear from our parents when we have a snow day and they still have to go to work, or we have a, break in there and they're still going off to work. And so that's some of the trade-off, and that it still may end up being that we raise the rates for current staff, add those days. It might be a push, but that's just an area that I know that it was a question asked last week. And so we wanted to bring that information in for you all to have, that, at this point in time, we do lose money here, but I will also though argue the other direction, when it comes to the consistency of our parents, of the system, because the parents don't have to worry about transportation, they drop the kids off at Riverside and we get them to their buildings. And so,
Is Mrs. Kiff going to come in with a presentation for us?
She sure can.
there we go.
That would be nice to know what her ideas are to increase the revenue.
All
And you talked
Love the
about the summer
She would
program.
love that.
100%
Love that.
guarantee she would
She
love
would
that.
love that.
I don't know, I don't believe I know the lady. It'd be kind of nice to know what her ideas are.
And she has ideas aplenty.
Yep. Has ideas of
She
plenty.
came in here before.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember
been
that.
quite a
So
while,
is
though.
that something we could arrange?
Yeah, it's a little while ago.
Yeah, yep, be good to hear it again.
We can bring Paul in.
So we're gonna look at the cost of Sunday athletics, and the cost of custodians. We're gonna look at the cost of the childcare.
The-
And those are two things we're gonna get cost on. Is that what I'm
No,
hearing here?
the Sunday that's approximately that cost for Sunday is your custodial. That,
Yeah.
okay, and that's approximately $50,000
Oh,
for the Sunday.
Yeah.
for the entire year.
The entire year.
And this is 100,000.
Yep.
So, 50
Yep.
possibly. So you're gonna grab the childcare numbers though, too? Yes.
As
The
far as,
information we just discussed on the childcare rates and increases and decreases.
yes, I will have that, because that will be built in.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I-
Andy, can I deviate just a little bit
Yes.
on this, since we're talking about the facilities? Do we I guess I'm speaking specifically because of the situation with Catholic Central right now. Do we have set costs if another school came to us and said, hey, we need to borrow your football facilities for X amount of time?
Yep,
Do we have a set
We have
cost?
set costs for people to rent, all of our facilities.
Except the tennis court isn't currently in our list, which was brought to my attention when someone requested it, but
It's a very pretty low rate.
Yeah.
It's not a big source. It was more of a
Yeah,
cover the cost of just anything
Right,
that needs
as
to
it should
happen.
be.
But it's not much. So
Yep.
it's not a
But there are-
revenue generator
there-
much.
there are rates set for people to come in, and to rent our facilities,
$200.
and then also they have to provide insurance, so their safety net's also built in. Based on the facility they use too, their other costs could be added. For example, if the maintenance person had to be there, a tech person had to be there, a custodial person had to be there. So they're all already been done. We went over all that, I think it was 1 year ago, and redid all that.
Okay, fair enough.
and if it would be helpful, I can include that in board briefs this
Would you
week
do
so
that?
you can see the rates.
Thanks. Perfect.
Adam, you might not have been here when that came out.
I don't
No, I remember it.
You remember?
I remember it.
So the next question had to do around athletics and the number of coaches and athletes. And so provided to you is a 3-page document, and these are the paid coaches by Monroe Public Schools. So you begin to look at it going, hold on now, I know football has a lot more people running around out there. They do. And so those are either volunteers or, but those are not people compensated by Monroe Public Schools. So on your chart or document, it shows the sport and the coaches associated with it, and then the number of participants. No, that's the number of kids participating.
So where's the number of coaches?
It's right there. It's listed by individuals.
Here.
Varsity assistant.
Right here.
Oh, so each one of those
Yep.
is a coaching position?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Each one of those is a coaching position.
7. Okay.
And so when you go down through, you'll see, for example, in fall, we had 387 participants. In the winter, you have 277. And then in the spring, 318 participants. And this is middle school through high school, everybody, for 982 students participating in our athletic programs. While we're right there with athletics, I'm going to just hop right into areas that we reduced with athletics. First was Patty had already done the work when it came to what was called drive time and downtime. So you have that time when you're driving to an event and back, and then you have what's called downtime. It's the time that the driver sits there. And that downtime is a reduction of $10 per hour total cost. So for athletics, that's about $15,000. They have roughly 500 different events through the whole year.
Can you
Yep.
help explain the downtime, what exactly?
Yeah. So when a bus driver reaches the facility they're going to, kids are off the bus, now they go to what's called downtime. They're just sitting there. And they're waiting for the kids to finish their event.
We used to refer to it as idle time. So it's time that they're not physically driving the
Yep.
bus, but they're present at the event because it's not
Yep.
feasible. It doesn't make sense for them to leave and then come back.
I'm trying to grasp how we're cutting, how we're saving.
Because
So-
currently we're paying them their full driver's wage during that
Right.
time.
We reduced it by total package, $7 an hour reduction, which is truly a $10 amount when you look at it.
Is that, was what we were doing standard?
It
All the
it
districts. are a little
varies
different.
from district to, I'm sorry.
do. They
It varies from district to district, contract to contract, as far as your bus drivers, whether there's idle time or not in there.
Do you know any
Paying for the drive time.
school and downtime?
I know that in my prior districts, we always had downtime.
And paid at the same rate?
No, the downtime, so for example, we pay currently rate a driver $25 an hour, okay, to when they're driving a bus. What it'll go is it'll go down to $18 an hour when they're just sitting there, okay, with no kids. And so in my prior district, it was very similar. Their wages were a little less, but you did have your drive time and you had your downtime. And so they'd actually have to log that on their timesheet, what that was. And so for us, it's one way that Patty has said that we could figure out how to reduce some cost. They're still gonna be sitting there. But they're not, when I say on the clock, but they're not having to functionally drive a bus or do anything else with a bus at that time. But the moment that bus moves, now they're back on their regular wage.
So I think about this in context of the conversation on the benefit for the childcare, okay? So in order to keep bus drivers, all I can think of is that they would have to agree to $7 an hour less. Now think about a wrestling tournament. You could be sitting at a wrestling tournament for a very long time.
Yep.
You think about a doubleheader baseball game. That's a lot of time to be sitting there because it's their job to reduce those costs. You know what I'm saying? That almost like, we're going to give them a benefit for childcare, but we're not going to give them a benefit because they have to sit during a sporting event. I just don't understand how those two conversations fit together. I just don't.
So, like I said, I don't know if Monroe ever had a downtime or an idle time before.
We did.
They did?
We did, 1 or 2 contracts prior to our current one, we did have downtime, and it was negotiated out of the payroll drivers, which I believe there's just 4 remaining. Mets, I don't believe we ever had an idle time rate in that particular contract, which I think is why the bus drivers that are on payroll negotiated that out of their
It
contract.
is when they were still with the AFL-CIO,
Okay.
because that was a common clause or statement or section of their contract.
What's the percentage of that? Did you do the math? I'm not doing mental math right now.
On-
What percentage is the decrease off of $25 an hour to 17?
So so when you look at it, it's $15,000 savings.
I understand that. I'm just asking for a personal bus driver that is now getting $10 less an hour or whatever, 17 to,
Yep.
what is the percentage that we're talking about that they would have to be reduced in pay?
You're
I don't
going
like
to,
the mental
down
math.
to 18 from
Yeah.
I don't think my head could do that. I don't know.
18 divided by 25.
And
It's
just
about
as a note,
28%.
So that's
Sign-
a 28% decrease that they are taking.
just as a note, the trips are voluntary to sign up. We're not forcing anyone to take those trips.
So my question becomes,
So
though, if we have a
that would-
transportation problem because we make that to save $15,000, but we're willing to take a $100,000 loss on childcare because it's a benefit, the two don't make sense to me.
We didn't, first of all, we haven't agreed moving forward to take $100,000 real loss, okay? We've talked about maybe tweaking it, so you're not really comparing apples to apples now. In the past, you would have been comparing apples to apples. Moving forward, if we do a 25% discount as opposed to 50 on the daycare, that's a little different, so.
Okay,
I
that's-
just want you.
Yeah, that's what
num-
I'm
okay,
referencing in
Okay,
reality.
okay.
I was just looking at the overall numbers,
Okay.
you know, if this is a 15, so
I hear what you're saying.
I understand what your point is on that.
So do you anticipate that we'll have drivers who do not want to take on those routes
I don't think so.
to sporting events where they're going to be sitting
So-
for,
Oh, they're
4 or
still
5
making, they're
hours?
still making, what, $18?
right?
Yeah, you still have, you've got to remember though, our drivers are already pushing that 5.5 to 7.5 hours a day. So a lot of times on these extra trips, they're at overtime.
And have you had a conversation with Mets already to see if this is something that they will be willing to
Yeah, I went out,
negotiate?
that's where I talked with
Okay.
Mets about this.
I know Patty has spoken with the
Yes.
Mets representatives, and she's actually spoken with the leader of the bargaining unit for the bus drivers that are on payroll, which is one of our drivers, but.
So if this is actually on overtime and they make $25 an hour, overtime is, so it's not even, so if they are on overtime, what would their overtime rate be?
But you can't guarantee that, so that's why we had to do it at their flat rate, because you can't guarantee that that driver would be on overtime. I'm just
But,
saying that.
so if they are on
Working-
overtime, it's a bigger than $18 an hour, because if they're overtime, say they're making time and a half, that's like 65, what, time plus a half would be 15, that would be, what, 40,
If they have multiple
$37
rates,
an hour,
27.
27,
So have you considered
no, time and
the,
a half, no,
Department of Labor, if you,
The question is. if-
no,
if
from the
there's-
25.
If their standard rate's 25, time and a half's 37, then do you just
Yeah.
want to subtract the 7 from that?
So those people would be going from 37 to 18, if they're on the time and a half. As you
No.
said,
No,
overtime.
if we go
If they have,
40.
the Department of Labor guidance that we follow in the district is if an employee has multiple rates, you have to calculate a blended overtime rate for the overtime hours when they're working more than one rate. So you can't take just the 25 at time and a half or just the 1850 at time and a half. You have to calculate a blended rate based on the hours worked at each rate.
So there's no way to actually determine this is a $15,000 saving.
Hence why we
because there's too many
calculated it based,
factors.
hence why we calculated it based on straight time.
Yeah, so that's a,
So have you considered the other option as far as the, instead of the driver downtime? It's not been that long ago where we've had buses that took the students to a sporting event, dropped them off, and then the parents brought them home. So that would cut out all of that downtime.
Yep.
I think we talked about that.
Yeah, that's one of those items right here. Is that the other option, this is why when it comes to athletics, there is the conversation is, we do have the downtime, or we can look at one-way transportation. And one-way transportation would be approximately $30,000 savings. So that's again, but that would not, you have to be very careful because you can't blanket all sports, okay? But you could take and go that direction there.
Is that mileage limited as far as where you would do the one-way?
No, so that's another level you could go to. And we already kind of do that internally, that based on, for example, like on a Saturday, for going to Bedford, or if we're going over to Dundee for like a swim, they just meet over there.
Competitive too, you run into a different situation because you're taking on Dexter and those schools, so it's a lot longer.
Right, so you
drive
could
time.
have a couple different options as far as local, in Monroe County versus outside of Monroe County, or how long of a drive it is, how many hours this tournament or whatever might go on. So there's lots of things to determine which way you want to go there, but maybe you have a blend of all of these options together.
Yeah.
a
And
cap
Because
on
I'm
the
afraid
time.
that you're gonna have drivers declining these routes.
I think so,
Because
too.
they're not gonna get paid as much as they would like
okay.
to sit.
So you can cap the time to sit, which is like a wrestling tournament, I've been to them, we've sat there for 12, 13 hours. That might be one of those ones that would make sense to say anything over a certain amount of time that the person would have to sit.
And that's going to be a weekend event. That's going to be a Saturday event, not a during the week event.
Yep.
During the week, it's only probably, maybe they're sitting for an hour and a half.
Could be.
The other,
Which isn't a big loss.
yep, so the,
Yeah, it's not that much.
$7.
Yeah.
4 or 5.
Yeah, if you
it's
have
a little
all these
different.
sports going on, it could add up.
the one-way transportation, that's the one that's, when you start thinking about what would be kind of like most favorable, and then you're back to giving your coaches the freedom about do they need transportation or not.
How long ago was that inactive? When
Only
did
like
you-
4 or
when
5
did-
years ago,
4 or
we were
5?
doing that. or
Okay, so
about
not that
4
long
years
ago.
Said one-way word, Mary, Carrie?
Oh, that just ended then?
It's not been that long ago. We were doing it with Josh. so.
Okay.
It is nice that if the bus can get them to the event, then
Yeah.
we don't have to leave work early, but then we can get to the event and then bring them home afterwards. But we don't have to sit there for the warm-ups and,
Hope
Yeah.
your friends
All of
have a
that.
van.
right.
I had a van. So did you add up all the coaches, or are we manually just adding them up, determine how many
The
coaches
numbers?
are there?
Yeah, I didn't see the coaches.
I didn't see that.
I didn't add them up only because you can see that it's roughly, I did do a
Let me get a total.
calculation, it's roughly a 15-to-1 ratio.
All right, never mind, we're gonna add these up real quick. So what is the proposal on this? I don't know whose question this was. What do you
So
want?
I was just curious because I was also curious about the other elective classes. I was also curious about just ratios across the district, right? Because I feel like when we're talking about getting the most quote bang for our buck, we need to really consider what those ratios look like, especially in things that might not be the core of what we need to focus on when we have to make these really tough decisions. So 15-to-1, that's smaller than some of our class sizes. That's smaller than some of our classrooms at kindergarten. And so then we're also factoring in the cost of transportation. We're factoring in the cost of upkeep of all the stadiums and all of that too. So pretty pricey price tag for things that, yes, contribute to academics, but it's not in the classroom effectuating actual instruction.
I did the math on this, 74 on this paper.
And I would like to suggest, if we're not already doing it, I'm not aware, some of the sports that have, 10 or 11 participants, have we looked at doing like a 15-passenger van instead of a bus?
So we've been trying to find the van option. So you can only transport 10 people, and that includes the driver. Okay? So that's your limit. That is an area that we would love to, which
Yeah.
we came up with a bunch of ideas, but you have to invest to save money later. And for example, like the van would be a way to invest to then save money, later on.
Our vans wouldn't work, is what you're saying.
No, those little vans, I think, carry.
I think CTE has a big van.
They do. They do. So for athletics, I want to wrap up athletics for you. So the big ticket items for athletics is their capital, and this was going from current year budget to next year. Their capital outlay was 120,000, and that would go to zero. They have 1.5 athletic trainers. They go to just one athletic trainer. That's a $36,000 price tag. And then the other was, like I said, the Sunday activities. I kind of threw that in there because it had to do with the athletics. And then you could do, like I said, the one-way, take care of the transportation. And athletics will have covered just over $230,000 if you left the downtime, without downtime alone. And so,
What is the capital outlay?
so capital outlay is where they will take and, actually, I'm gonna give it to Cassie because I don't want to explain it wrong.
Would you like to know what they purchased with their capital outlay this year?
Yeah,
They
that
bought,
would be a good frame of reference, right?
This year, they bought a whole new set of hurdles for track and field. They did part of the remodel of the upper gym was out of that capital outlay because it could not all be charged to sinking fund based on what occurred. Those are the two big things I recall this year that they purchased.
How about consumables, when you have like, I don't know how many tennis balls you have to buy, baseballs,
No,
softballs?
uniforms and consumable game equipment comes out of a different account. There's athletic supplies and then uniforms is a separate account.
So are we saying that capital outlay will be zero for next year? There'll be nothing, no enhancements made, nothing?
No.
And there could be some more cost reductions depending on how we handle the situation with transportation, correct?
So with the transportation, yes, if you go do the one, if we go, what I'm kind of hearing people talk, if you just did one way, you're going to see approximately a $30,000 savings. And that number could even grow because then you get into the ability to have some of our coaches that would like to just be able to make a decision about having their team just meet at a venue because of the location, would just do that. So you wouldn't have transportation for that. And then and it's hard because like this year, I know we've had to use a third party occasionally for our transportation. So it's hard to quantify, okay, how much that would reflect for next year. But just like when we're looking at talking in terms of our Riverside, our program, if we raise the cost of it, then that's going to push down that other number to what number I don't know there. So.
You just need to look at the value and the pressure it puts on families for $30,000. And I'm just being cognizant of that. I don't know where your temperature gauge was on reading the room, but
No,
we differ on that one.
No. When it comes to when we start to think in terms of areas that I would be saying here, recommending kind of just leave it alone. The transportation right now, because we're over that 5.5 number right now, the transportation for and putting it onto the parents. We will have a couple of kids that may not go out, okay, because they're not going to have that way of getting home. We know that we do have some parents that don't go to events, and so coaches will have to be figuring that part of it out. The complexity is your coach, one of the coaches will be driving, and so the other one will be on a bus, or a volunteer will be on the bus, to get them home. So it's not out of the range, but at the end of the day, the other part is $30,000 is $30,000. And
I'm just going back to Carrie's, position. I think she's onto something, a blended type of program.
Yep.
I mean, golly Moses, why would we want to take a bus to Dundee or to Erie Mason?
Right.
Because
that's
parents are
or
at work.
Jefferson, it's right there.
Because parents are at work and they can't get there off.
But I mean, the one way, I'm talking one way.
Or they don't have a car.
Would you have?
Well, and I'm
Carrie?
not sure, I mean, if we're looking at a number for possible savings, I hate to say it, but do we go back to pay to play to help out with those transportation costs and ensure that we're going to be able to get those kids to and from events? But, this is why we're doing the pay to play at this point. I know we just took it away recently, but.
I just think that, we have a $76 million budget. Like, there's got to be other places that we could shave off some of those numbers.
That's the thing is, I mean, if you guys give me a few minutes right here, I think this will help a great deal. So what you're talking about right now, between the downtime, between regular field trips and the athletics and the one-way, you're talking about less than $50,000, okay? And so my point to you would be is leave that alone. The other part is when it comes to your pay to participate or what we did for our instrumental music, leave that alone. You've done that. It's all right. We're there. Let's not go there. We're over the number. We've done the work here. When we get into, and so athletics will have made their adjustments they need to, that will save just quite a bit on the budget. When it gets into the transportation, I think I shared, and I'm just gonna keep right on going if you don't mind here.
Interject one
Yes,
thing.
please.
I wasn't done with athletics.
So
Go ahead.
you've got the number right now,
Yes.
but that doesn't mean we've all agreed upon that number.
Right. No, I know there's gonna be more conversation.
Right.
Yep.
So just keep in mind that we've said that we've got to this
Doing a
number,
lot of circling.
but there's still a couple items, at least for me, that are a budget stopper if we do that.
Perfect.
So just making sure you're,
I'm keeping,
I wanted to ask on the capital outlay, where did the remodeling of the floor, the gym floor and all that painting, wasn't that a capital outlay?
Part of that was covered in our sinking fund, and part of that was out of that capital outlay.
Okay. Because I know you mentioned the remodeling of the upper gym and the hurdles, but that would have been in there as well.
Part of
And
that,
then the mural would have been in capital outlay as well, because it's a permanent paint on the wall.
don't recall if he charged that to capital outlay or if he charged that to other services.
Yeah. So when we say that was 120,000, does that include all of that? That
120,000 is what I currently have in the budget for athletic capital outlay. So everything that he charged to that 6420 account in his sequence.
we don't know how much was charged to like a sinking fund because the floors and the walls are
The
facility.
sinking fund is that this is all general funds, so sinking fund is a completely different situation.
I'm just asking the way that
The 120,000 is what is currently in the budget under athletics capital outlay.
Okay.
So that is comprised of the items that were charged to that account.
So how can we say there'll be none? I guess I don't understand that. Like, how can we predict that there won't be any?
Because
don't do it.
for 1 year, there's gonna be nothing done.
Nothing done. That's all it is.
Yep.
I don't know. I just think of that list of things.
For 1 year,
All right.
that's the thing is like for
That's
1
you
year.
guys' call. I mean,
That's the hard part about all this work is though that's where for 1 year, there's a lot of things that's gonna be put on. No.
assuming if you have something emergency happening, that falls under the operational. It's an operational decision, right? I just want people to
Yeah.
chill out. I mean, if
This is-
something major
Right.
happens,
Could be a sinking fund or something.
right, the roof falls in or something like that, it's not, you know.
This is something that, if we think about like capital outlay projects, something that you're thinking ahead, like, hey, for example, and this is not a great one, but it's the only one that came to my head quickly, is if we needed new bleachers in the gymnasium. Okay, that's a capital outlay project, but that is also sinking fund, but you're planning something out, okay? And so in this area right here, it's the same exact thing. That
Yeah, but-
item's not there for next year. So anything extra that needed to be done besides just normal maintenance. So for example, the baseball pitching mound, normal maintenance for mound clay, that's what's gonna happen. There's nothing special gonna happen. That's what we consider capital outlay.
So on the athletic trainer, I mean, my understanding was when the athletic trainer was included to oversee Monroe Middle sports, that we found that to be a beneficial addition to helping things move smoothly. So,
What changed was mainly it was in the world of football and our outdoor sports, and they're all over at Monroe High School now, and we have an athletic trainer there. And so that's the big shift of why we could reduce at halftime is our
didn't he do more? I mean,
you've got your indoor sports, so yeah, now we would not have a trainer at the middle school during the indoor seasons, which was not an
and
uncommon.
you said the cost for that was what?
36,000.
Wasn't that part of the ATI? Okay. All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions on athletics? All right, we could pop over into transportation. Already had a conversation here, but the downtime for normal field trips is about $3,000. This past year, we ended up paying out almost $20,000 in overtime, and that's for people through training of drivers and of I'm not going to get specific into the positions there, but we had a couple positions that, due to scheduling, will be rescheduled next year so that there's not the overtime. And Patty and I already discussed what that looks like. I also challenged Patty to take, because we know that we have new buses coming in, and we've got some more drivers coming on, to take and reduce the amount of time that our drivers are out in the mornings by 10 hours and in the afternoons by 10 hours. And what that equates out to is $108,000. That 20 hours for a day, $31 an hour, 175 days. I even accounted for snow days in there. And they drive approximately 100 hours. So if you take our 31 drivers we currently have, they drive approximately 100 hours in the morning total, and about 100 hours in the afternoon. And so Patty and I started going through ways that she can start to look at how to reduce the amount of time that the drivers are out. And then she's looking at making it so that there's 33 runs rather than the 31. So balancing that time out. And again, we want to have the kids on the buses for as short amount of time as possible.
Right.
And so that's what the expectation is. So we talked about, for example, out in the Raysville area, out towards the beaches, is that, for example, like in Raysville, she's going to be looking to have a transition bus at Raysville Elementary. And so they come in, middle school, high school kids are hopping on that transition bus, and it's rolling into town while they go back out for elementary. And so she and the dispatchers and router, that's what their job is here, is to really change up and to reduce those numbers of hours.
But elementary kids will not be on with
No.
high school or
No,
middle
no.
school. Thank you.
No, and then the other part being too is if you're doing that, if she can reduce, that 1 hour, that 10 hours in the morning, 10 hours in the afternoon, you're also going to end up with a hidden savings later on because you're not going to have some people going straight to overtime as fast or as many hours of overtime too. Should we keep, with the athletics and or field trips and everything that we do. The other one Patty said is to reduce, right now we have 3 vans, reduce one of our vans at the cost of $8,000. Right now, we send buses out on a separate run to help support our virtual and Trojan Academy schedules. And so that's in the tune of about $45,000 to do that for the whole year. And so we'll be adjusting that schedule to make sure we get the kids in the door.
What's that for again?
Virtual and Trojan Academy to try and get kids, so we'll be adjusting that schedule to make that happen.
So that's
45. Yeah. Because it's about the number, so it's you think about the vastness of your district and how far out buses have to go So it just becomes, unfortunately, it's not an additional problem, it's a multiplication problem quickly. Now, we do have Erie Mason, we're gonna be beginning in July, servicing their buses. Their PM work will be about $18,000 a year. Right, anytime a bus comes in from another district, that's a straight savings to us. Now, that number of hours, that's just for PM work. If they have to do more work on a bus, then that creates more savings for us at the same time.
Is that TransDev that's doing that? Yeah.
Yep.
And they're through the contract, right?
Yes.
They're paid through the contract.
Yep.
So the amount of hours that they work is irrelevant to us because they're a contracted rate.
Correct, but they're not charging us, so if they're working on a Mason bus and they're not charging us for that. time.
Okay.
So that's how we
Yeah.
end up being.
There's no additional charges to us.
No. And then we also have,
Just the space and the lights
correct,
and so
Yep.
we get paid for that. How?
we don't, part of the,
Sounds like a revenue opportunity.
well, that is $18,000 of revenue.
Servicing buses.
Well, you're not
Come on,
gonna,
Andy.
you already have, you already
Right, we're in
have
the,
other,
okay,
our
what's this,
bus,
the bus servicing
How many
business?
buses are we talking about at Mason?
I think it's 9,
9.
yeah.
But I mean, there is a cost to the system for that. You're using the facility.
Well, the facilities, I think what you have to remember is if their bus was not in there, our bus or some of our equipment would be in there. The lights are always gonna be on during that day. So we're not, that's almost an impossible one. Now, as far as like, does Patty have like not Patty, I'm sorry. Karen have I know they have a shop rate for like consumable stuff that Mason would be charged. But
I mean, if we're gonna charge someone to use the football field, I would say we charge someone to use our facility, right?
We do, per the contract, receive a subcontracted rate for using our facilities. It's a minimal rate, but we do receive a check from TransDev each month for usage by other districts, which currently, right now, is the ISD.
What's the rate on that? You don't,
I don't have that number right in front of me, but I can certainly pull up that
Go
contract.
to Catholic Central?
we still do.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if
So
you wanna
Catholic Central
pull,
buses.
pull that information, like, if we're looking at revenues coming in, when we're offsetting with expenses, there's a little balance there too.
Yep, and that's what you could look at as Mason's a revenue for us.
Well, we'll find out.
No, they are an $18,000 revenue because you're gonna have at least 2 PMs done a year. That's the revenue guaranteed because they can't, plus inspection time, so that's minimum number.
Yeah.
Because,
Any kind of repairs are above and beyond that.
yep,
At
Yeah,
a, what,
I just-
like an hourly rate?
it's an hourly rate that's already been
And
pre-established.
so it's currently ISD and who else?
Catholic Central.
Catholic Central.
Yep.
Yeah, grab those numbers if you don't mind.
And then the other one was, we're asking Patty, so we have, I think it's the paper, you guys have it there, it's either 31 or 34 bus monitors, and we're going to be reducing that down to 20, or the equivalent number of hours. So whichever one she needs to have there is that equivalent number of hours. So you have, but right now they're covering every bus for every run. High school through elementary. And so, not every bus needs to have coverage
Well,
out there. And that's, there's just, it's a $250,000 price tag.
I know, but so when we talk about, and I don't like the word, but I'm gonna use it because I don't have another word to use, behaviors.
Yep.
And we talk about that, how difficult the buses were. So therefore, the buses needed a safety monitor in order for the bus to operate safely in the event that any of those occurrences happened. That way, the bus driver wasn't distracted, having to deal with it or something on there. So I understand financial, but I'm also looking at the safety of the students. So how do we ensure, like, the need was there? I don't understand how
So
the need
there's
went
going to
away.
be roughly 31 bus runs. You're still going to have 20 bus monitors.
Oh, that's
and-
18 on here.
No, I think that number for monitors was quite a bit larger than that. And so what will happen is she will appropriately place the bus monitors.
Yeah, it does say 18. I thought it was
32 right now, Andy.
Thank you.
going down to 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, minus
32.
That just sounds like an awful lot of buses. Like, what bus are you going to pick?
So.
Someone doesn't get a monitor in order for.
Because there are some, there are, and that's why I said it could be the equivalent of hours. So, typical high school student, Steve, since you're sitting out there, at what time in the day do our high school kids wake up?
How does he know?
Thank you. But my point of that is that, when we look at the number of hours, if you just take, and reduce just the high school run time and put them on, you've already gotten your equivalent of hour. You're starting to get to your hours. So she could still, so you don't have them on for your high school run. High school kids, when they get on the bus in the morning, they crawl into the back of the bus and they're quiet. So,
So we don't have any,
so my point for Patty is
questionable.
to do the math on the number of hours there and then have the appropriate coverage to match it.
Vaping and all
That'd
that.
be fit for her.
And I'm sure certain bus runs are more problematic than other buses.
Certain bus runs are.
Yeah.
But that's where also, when Patty's doing this work, getting 2 more drivers, which lessening the time of students on a bus, it all plays out.
But wouldn't that, if that's the methodology for determining how many monitors are needed, couldn't that same methodology be applied to classrooms and the need inside a classroom? Because a bus driver's driving. So if that's the case, couldn't we use that same thing in a classroom? That classroom doesn't have the same issues that
You're
classroom does.
talking about aides, though.
Yeah, I'm talking about behavioral people.
Well, that's usually driven by the number of IEPs in the class.
I'm just suggesting that the methodology may
Well, I'm
equate across.
In a classroom, it might not be in that
Yeah.
classroom all day long. They might be
Yeah.
in this classroom for 2
Right.
hours and move to the next classroom for 2 hours.
So they actually,
Like
Behavior
hours.
people.
yep,
The IEP doesn't stop though in the classroom. The IEP continues to get on the bus. His or her IEP doesn't stop. So they have an IEP for a reason. They get on a bus with an IEP.
Right.
And that may be a bus that has a monitor.
Right.
Well,
I mean, maybe,
we have
yeah, it may
18
dictate it by
less.
that. It may dictate
We
that.
have 14 less, yeah.
But
Yeah.
what happens when you cut that and there becomes a need? Because like Brian said, the IEPs are out there.
And I'd like
It's
to
a
say,
good point.
I'd like to say too, that only a percentage of the IEPs have to deal with behavior. Some of them are strictly
Yeah.
academic. So it's,
Did you throw a number out there? Did you want to say 50%?
I do not want to go on the record with,
65%?
so,
No takers. Okay, good.
but
Want to
understand,
supply those numbers for the conversation?
but understand
Data
that there are some things inside this budget that are being presented to you that come next October, November, once we see the state's information come in, that we may be making adjustments to, like, okay, we need to make an adjustment here. What I'm also trying to do at the same moment in time, though, is challenge Patty to do the math, figure it out, because she might still keep her coverage on the main buses that she has the problem, that she needs it for, rather than just a blanket system. That's all. So,
She only gets 18 now. My heart's feeling for.
but she can also do the math and do the equivalent hours. Yep, she can manage it there.
Like shorter runs. But so as the bus runs become shorter, those hours will stretch farther.
Yes. Yep. And the other fact you have is it's all about, and this is what I want to just really, I commend our elementary, our K-4 buildings on doing this year. It's getting the kids on and off the buses quickly. So when you have downtime, when I say downtime, I'm talking about the bus is sitting there, kids are waiting to get off or vice versa. It's not a good situation. Bad things, so it's there.
So the bus assistance for MPS is 5, and then are we talking about the same category of people?
The bus assistants that are MPS are on special needs routes. The safety monitors are on both special needs routes and general education routes. So they are similar to the safety monitors, but what is being discussed of being reduced is the safety monitor number, not the bus assistant number, as those are needed on special needs runs.
So we're not making any changes in that category?
In those 5 bus assistants, no,
Yeah.
ma'am. We still have those special needs runs that need an assistant on there.
Only because it was yellow before.
So the other items that went from last week were staff devices. We're gonna move forward with that $100,000 savings in the plan that Dave Payne presented last week.
On what?
Staff devices and that change out of them. This year, we did struggle on getting qualified, and trained staff for, independent facilitators. That's the student aid, one-on-one aides there. And so, we had to get people in the door, so we had to bring on a third party to do that. And that was an expensive item. It's one that the ISD has had to use in the past. And so we knew what we were doing, what was happening. So we put a plan together for this summer for training of staff. And that's why you see some of those numbers in there, like BTs and others. It comes down to that training and that. So our goal is to eliminate that $150,000 bill we had for these trained staff members that we had to bring on because we had to have coverage for IEPs. And so we've worked with our ISD though to have a training plan to make that happen this summer, so that trained staff would be there. The other being is between the middle school and the high school, when it comes to the security guard, we're looking at working to change, just reduce number of hours of the security guard. And so looking at, if we can figure out 1,000 hours would be $23,000 of savings. And that could be a range from end time, starts times, and number of people at a given moment in time. So that's just an item we're going to work through with our high school. 2 other areas that came up last week that we had talked about. One was Hanover Research. So when I reached out to Hanover and talked to them after I'd also talked, like I said, to the ProMedica, they're like, Andy, this is one of the areas that we work hard in, is to work on program evaluation, obviously the implementation of our plan, but they go through that program evaluation is where we actually help schools find basically that next level of money to save. And so if it's the best one I can describe out there is, we have that specific program that's costing X, and I don't want to give examples because that just makes everyone all up there, but that's what they do. The other one was
So that would be continue with the $50,000.
Continue with that, and that's what reflects in this document, you see up on the screen, that does reflect them staying in there, so that wasn't a pull.
Do we ever get data from them? Remember when we first brought them in, we were supposed to get all these datas and spreadsheets on how things are going and whatnot?
They do oh gosh.
Remember all that?
Yeah, we also have, I can't give you the correct name because I'll save right there. We submit quarterly testing information. So they do have data for us that we can bring in.
Yeah, why don't they give us an update?
We
once in a
supply
while?
them data and they evaluate it? Is that what they assess?
So so there's 2 forms. One is that, so we have all of our testing data we provide, so that way it's a screenshot. And then the other one though is they will actually assist us in a program evaluation. And so, and I'm talking about a large program evaluation. So if you get into, for example, one of the programs we will evaluate will be iReady and the outcomes of iReady, and is it getting us exactly what we expect. And so they'll go through with us and their methodology. And again, we wouldn't be the first school that's done a program evaluation on. So iReady is what we use. Other schools use NWA. You have all sorts of programs right there. And based off of that information, will help us to make a decision if we've seen the outcomes or not.
Our policy actually states, because I was digging in policies today, that we must have program evaluations on any of the programs that we're doing.
Yep.
So that would equate that, they have to be done.
Yes.
According to policy. So we will get the results of any of that to the board when they come through.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And right now, have they completed any yet since they've come on board? Any program evaluation?
We haven't asked because we were working first on our strategic plan getting.
Okay. So iReady is your first one.
It may be iReady or it could be some other program that we elect here in the district.
Okay.
Yep. And then the other one, the last area that we had talked about was Monroe Community College. Last week, I had 2 meetings with Monroe Community College on their services, on the cost of their services. And so we're still working alongside Monroe to figure out what this will all pan out to be. They have made a commitment to, from the financial side, to do, bless you,
Bless you.
to make the appropriate adjustments when it came to the,
Dual
thank you,
enrollment?
the lab fees. That was
Oh,
that was a big one right there. And the
What'd you say?
delivery, lab fees.
fees.
Oh, yeah.
How they charge for that.
Yeah.
So we're still in conversations with Monroe Community College. But like I said, that was one that I brought up last week to you guys there. So from last week to this week, what we've shared with you is approximately almost $400,000 more of reductions. And so I would ask now, I've got my notes out and ready to start writing of questions, areas, needs, all of the above.
David, did you
We go
take
back-
notes on all that?
We
we
go back
just
to
said?
transportation.
Yes, sir.
So we've got a total of 7 new buses, or at least that.
We will have a total
We got
7 more
2 in, and we got 5 more coming, right? Or is it 7 more
of,
coming?
no,
The buses.
I thought it was,
It was 10
it
altogether.
was 10 altogether,
It was
so there's
2 and
8 more yet to
8.
come.
2 and 8?
2 and 8,
Yeah.
I thought
yeah.
it was
And
Sure.
one of the forthcoming.
Okay.
Yes, so it's 7 regular, 1 lift bus.
Right.
There
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
coming,
Okay.
yes.
But it was a
Yep.
total.
So I would expect reduced cost for spare part usage
Yep, so that's one of those areas that,
and maintenance costs down?
yep.
Yeah.
And so when we build the budget, there's areas that you don't know, so so you bring up a spot where, fortunately on that one, we won't add to it. You know, that'll be just a push item, there. And then as we watch it throughout the year, that might be an area that, okay, come budget revision time, February, like, all right, we're only tracking at this percentage, we can bring that number back even further down or leave it alone.
Yeah.
Because
And the
But wouldn't
older-
have to add to it.
And the
make it
older
larger.
buses, we're gonna sell those?
Yes, we are.
So,
Nobody
but
sold.
that's probably minimal, but.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the number that she's looking at selling off, but a lot of them, though, they won't sell off right away because they do cannibalize them
Okay,
out there
that's
for
the other
parts.
thing, yeah.
And so they just,
We call those parts buses,
Okay.
not cannibalized.
everyone understood
Thank
that
you,
term a
Cassie.
lot better.
I remember that conversation because they talked about the need to continue to have those buses because we were adding into the fleet, not necessarily replacing a lot of those. And that there would be some that would parts, but the problem was those parts don't fit for that bus and those parts don't fit for that bus, so that was minimal. So I didn't hear her say in that conversation that they were selling any.
No, I know
I-
that right now that we
yeah.
have, I think 4 or 5 buses sitting out there that are being parts buses.
Right. So I don't
there's
know
gonna be
where
some-
that would leave, how many would be even available in order to sell. Like, I don't see
Based
what's coming with
on
those.
my
think
recollection of
you
the
need to keep
conversation, this would
9, 10 buses for spare
purchase would
parts.
bring
No.
us
You maybe
to
need
where we
5.
needed to be, including some spare buses, because right now we have a limited number of spare buses. I don't believe the intent at this time was to sell any of the ones that they're replacing at this time.
Not totally.
Not totally, yeah.
We were listening to you, Cassie. Sorry for
Yeah,
that.
because we're reducing route times.
I'm going to ask you to say back what she said.
Right. I was talking about the usage of the buses and the
Yep.
parts and the savings that you can get off of those parts and.
Correct.
Thank
My recollection of the conversation when Mrs. McKelvey and Ms. Maurice were here was that these additional buses that we are purchasing would enhance the fleet and give us more sub buses for when there is work being done. Because right now, they're kind of in a tight spot if there's parts on back order and that with the amount of workable buses that we have at this time. I
And even when
don't,
the state came in and did their inspection, that was a
Correct.
problem, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're doing them right now,
yes, they're doing them
Oh,
right
they're
now.
in the midst of that now?
Yes.
Well,
right in the middle.
they
So
got a couple buses in, so had to help.
are we moving on from transportation?
I think that was my question.
That was your question?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we discussed this last time, and I'm going to bring it up again because it still is a big problem for me moving forward with the budget. remind me, so we got a savings of, I'm sorry, administrative building, staffing changes, reduction of $647,000. Where do we get the reduction of the 647?
For this building?
Yep.
All right. Give me one.
If you make 647.
I'm like, Cindy, man.
No.
Cindy was
Man, no
making a
wonder
lot
you
of money.
Retired for so long.
Wonder you're right, remember.
I have it up.
I'm gonna
Do you
say
want
it.
me to?
It's too small for me.
Yeah.
Cassie will go right down the line for you to know the
Please.
change that.
Yep,
And
that
please.
was a reduction of an exempt support staff member, Mrs. Flynn's retirement, the reduction of our district positive school climate liaisons, the elimination of one district PBIS coordinator, the elimination of a dean of transportation, the change of the new teacher mentors, and then there was some changes in the technology department. It looks like 6 contracted staff members, and then swapping out 2 different, like, not filling a level 3 technology position and rather filling it with a level 4 technology position.
And the other change is 171, was that the assistant principal that not in place, or was that in the,
That would be under elementary or secondary. I don't recall which.
what was the other changes then?
That was the software changes that Mr. Payne had spoke about. That is our staff device changes that Mr. Shaw alluded to. And then reduction of attorney fees, not renewing the contract with ACAP, the security guard changes that Mr. Shaw discussed, the elimination of meals at meetings,
Okay.
and reduction of general fund cost, or general fund paid conferences for professional development.
Okay. So we had the conversation around replacing Miss Flynn with Miss Shook, and I still have a big problem with the idea of combining human resources and the financial position. I've sat and thought about it, talked to other people about it in a business sense, not using obviously Monroe's name, but I struggle with that happening. I don't think that's the right move. I think if we've gotten over the 5 point whatever number it was, if we can buy back something to put an HR person there, solely an HR person, that would be the way I would favor it. And at this point, I would say that the budget for me, although you've done an outstanding job, that to me is a major stumbling block in moving forward.
Okay.
So I don't know how we address that, but
I
I guess it'll.
a note from you on that one.
If it'll either happen or it will come to a vote and I will lose the vote, it doesn't matter. But to me, I'm raising that objection still.
Brian, I appreciate that. And if I could really hear from our board members tonight, like what I want to call like your pinch points, I hear that's your pinch point.
And I would actually add ACAP's a big pinch point.
Yes.
Because I know it's a 1 year. I know we think we're going to get the 31 AA back. I understand all that for safety, but you have to have somebody who spearheads safety.
So
And I worry that when we don't have ACAP, safety becomes kind of in the back seat. When you have a consultant you pay, it stays in front of you because you're paying for it, and so that is another pinch point.
Brian, I completely agree with you, and I appreciate that. Honestly, we should have, on some of these questions, like with an ACAP, before we even get to our budget work here at the end of June, we'll have an answer there because we'll have a much better feel. Like right now, from a meeting this past Friday, both the House and the Senate have new language trying to get that 31 AA money in there. So now it's a matter of get through this coming Friday, which is our revenue estimating conference, get past that point, then they can finish up their budget work. So I appreciate that one. I'm going to keep that one highlighted for you.
And there's nothing wrong with going back to ACAP and saying, we're in a bit of a budget squeeze here. Can you give me $5,000? Can you give me?
We've had
Because
this conversation.
okay, good. Because there's a reason you can negotiate, and maybe they're willing to negotiate some of the
Reduce
price.
time. Maybe
Yep.
just key on certain strategic
Yes.
points.
Yep.
So we already talked specifically about that with ACAP, that if at bare minimum, to be able to use Scott in the capacity that we had him like this year, which was being there to help run our drills, and then he would go to building level meetings. And that would be a very inexpensive way to keep things going.
On the 31 AA, my understanding was that that's already been removed from the legislation. That the legislative have already moved that from the next budget.
No, there's $300 million
vote.
in there for next year for 31 AA and both.
Yeah, but I
budgets.
meant they removed that stipulation already in the
No,
funds.
so both the House and the Senate have different versions of
Oh,
language.
okay.
Yeah.
So now they have to negotiate out that final bit of language.
Okay.
But their language both pulls out the component of privilege. So that's what they have removed. They still have to finalize that and then get the governor to sign it. So that's
Okay.
That was
negotiation left.
what I was going to allude to. While they both have those in their current proposals, I don't believe anything until it's signed from the governor.
The one that vetoed it.
Yep.
They would still need her.
She still would have to.
Yeah, she
Oh,
can,
I thought the legislature can pull it out of the budget and.
so what the governor can do is she can, actually, the legislature put together, then she has individual line vetoes. Or she can just understand there's gonna be a whole lot of negotiations with this being an election year. So what is it she wants? So a lot yet to happen.
Yeah. You're up.
I'm just going to echo what Brian said as far as the HR position. I do feel that it should be separate from finance. Other than that, you've already heard what I thought on the transportation for athletics. The security guard shack, I would like to see what other technological options we might have for that particular location. And those are really my sticking points at this time. I know there's one, you probably already know which one I'm going to say, but there is one staff position on this that's still in red, so I won't say it out loud, but you can probably guess which one it is. That I believe we need to keep that one position. So we can narrow it down.
Got it. Okay.
We're all checking our papers. Okay.
Experience.
Yeah, okay. I've already given my input on the position as well, so I will reiterate what I said last time in regarding that position. I think that some of these, I think that there's a give and take on some of these. So until some of these numbers come in, like, you know, if you're talking $50,000 or $30,000, I think there's a lot of wiggle room within there to be able to work something up that's possibly doable in those categories. So everything that we asked for information on tonight, I'm assuming someone wrote that all down, or ChatGPT or whoever it is will pick it up. They'll give it up, right, Jamie? Do you want me to go through the list, or you got it?
So do remember that, yes, so for example, like, that cost that we're getting a check back from First Vehicle. You know, that's gonna be a nominal amount, whatever that is, that's a piece of information that we'll get, but it's not gonna have, it's kind of like, Brian, what was the one I gave an example of? You were talking about an item, and I said,
I don't remember what I said.
I know, I'm trying to get back to it. It's, I know, it's already in the budget, but to try and figure out that amount, we just know it's gonna be less. Oh, the parts for buses. Okay, it's kind of like that. There's gonna be some items right there that we know. And I think for what's gonna be helpful, because where we're at right now is, if we know that there's a particular pinch point that you are going, that you say, I need this addressed before I would vote to approve this budget that would be coming forward, that's what I want to know, so we can do our work on your behalf to get that figured out.
Yeah, but there was a whole list of quick things that we grab information on. I didn't know if you wanted me to go through them again or not, that we've already highlighted during the conversation. The other thing with me is the staffing, what is priority for staffing positions over others? and, for example, cut this, but increase this, but cut this. And I think some of those numbers, I don't agree with some of those choices that were made in the staffing chart. A lot of those we've already discussed. Some we can't discuss because there's too many variables in order to discuss them, but, you know, I didn't think we should cut any teachers. I mean, I.
We
have
didn't cut
been
a single
very-
teacher, ma'am. We
We
did not.
reduced-
We reduced the numbers of teachers because we don't have, there's not a need in that position. So for example, two elementary
Okay,
teachers.
let me rephrase. We based on this, reduced teachers. I also went, if that's the point we're at, I also went and pulled up the teachers that were on this other chart that we had. And I was trying to say, okay, this was the last staffing chart we had, and this told us how many teachers there were. And according to this, there were 117, 275 total. 117 was FTE teachers, and then total FTE teachers, including classroom core, was 275. So either one of those, I don't know which numbers you're pulling from. Your chart says we started out with 99 and then 48. So where did those two numbers?
The numbers that you have in that document right there in your right hand, nope, the other one,
Right.
those are the exact numbers at this very moment this year.
Because those are a lot less than this document
That's
that
why
we got. We
we have
got
given you
for the
the-
25-26 school year.
We're giving you the exact numbers of teachers and buildings and classrooms on that other document.
Okay.
So that's the 99.
So I'm going to make an assumption here
Mm-hmm.
that if we had 117 before, and you're saying the document says 99 now, then there was something happening between 117 and
But
99.
what I don't know though is with that document, 'cause I haven't looked at that one and
It's the last one you gave us, the staffing numbers. It was the,
It's a voluntary package.
no. So that
yeah,
that
where did
document,
that fit in?
no, that document right there, I haven't looked at that one in a long time. So
It's
does it,
25-26 school year.
I can,
but I meant though,
We
is
didn't
like,
get
does it
one.
have in there, I don't know what that number reflects. That's my point is
Can I share?
It's the only
what
information I
position?
have.
Is it just,
Yeah, it's only.
If I
information
may.
have.
yeah.
I believe the total number on your larger spreadsheet in your left hand also includes Encore and special services, which would, but I
The
have,
275 includes that. The 275 includes that, not the 117 number. Because the total teachers, including everything, is 275 according to this chart.
So that chart that you're holding in the grayscale also double dips teachers. So like if I had a placement at Raisinville and at Orchard, I was counted on Orchard and at Raisinville.
And
Because I teach at both buildings and
Not
I'm a
you.
teacher at both
I'm saying,
buildings.
why would this show me
Because-
2 placements instead of 1 when all we wanted to know was
Well,
positions?
so but the position exists at both buildings, right?
people does not equal positions.
Correct.
That's why in that document that,
Well, an FTE is a person.
no,
No.
an FTE could be 2 people, could be 3 people.
Could be one
It's
person.
one person. It could be, it's a variable.
and that's why, Darla, we wanted to make sure like that document right there you're holding on to, that's the most accurate. In the last 2 weeks of all the work, that is our numbers of employees.
So on the one you just gave us,
Yes, ma'am.
if Mary is the way she described it, where are those double dippers at? In the one you gave us? If
So we
the
actually went with,
double dippers are on here, where are the double dippers on here?
so on that document, we actually went with real bodies on there for you, so that it wasn't, look at, okay, you have a halftime person, Orchard halftime person in another building, we have this one person.
Yes.
reflected here.
So the green, yellow, and red document is human beings, not FTEs. We did it.
Sort of. I mean, our math still isn't mathing because we've got 48.93 and
Right.
78.12, which does not equal
A whole
a
human.
whole person.
I know.
I get it.
Because there's still some partials in there, but that's the idea is that we try to reflect everyone. That's why we gave it to you in two different kinds of format to try and help there. But
I go with what information I got.
no, but we were trying though to keep the general education classrooms untouched. And that was our goal, and we actually we were able to do that, so they're not touched. So that was very clearly stated to us early on in the whole process.
How does the redistricting impact all of this? Because the suggestion was that we have to redistrict in order to make all this work.
So
So,
a year ago, when we went through the restructuring, we had said at that time, it's gonna take a moment of time, 1 to 2 years to get our buildings balanced out. And so, we're just moving some lines, that would help balance out Waterloo and Hollywood and reducing the number of students at Custer.
so
And that,
are we just telling people?
yeah, the phone calls are being made to parents about that change. And
I
then
think
they'll
there's a
still have,
policy on this.
then they'll have the ability to, so what would you like?
I'm just asking, you asked me my thoughts, and
No,
I'll tell you
we're
some of
doing-
those things,
we're
like
being very
anything that
personable.
impacts the students and families directly is what I look at. You
Yep.
know,
And
if
we-
you're looking at, you know, what Dave money's gonna spend on technology, that's to me an easy no-brainer. We'll go ahead and go with that. But when you're talking about something that impacts families,
We think about
students.
exactly like you, the parents, and that's why parents be contacted individually, talk through options that they have, and so they can make those choices. And so each one it will have an individual.
so if they all take school of choice, what are you gonna do?
We'll make other adjustments.
That's what I'm saying. If those numbers are calculated
Then we'll have
into
to-
this
yep.
system, and these staffing is put according to that plan, and if that plan doesn't fit, then these numbers don't match.
Yeah, but we have to balance, if you look at particularly the 25, 26, Waterloo shows a head count 150, which is like half of the other schools. We've got to rebalance these.
But these aren't teachers.
No, these are students.
Yeah.
Yeah, so really, we need to make sure whether it's Waterloo, Hollywood, that we're balancing, it, we're not underutilizing our facility.
And that's going to help us avoid those split
Yeah.
classes too.
It will keep our student per teacher down where it needs to be.
But no, we will pull the audio down and make sure we've captured all the items that you requested here.
Let's go to Mary.
So a request that I have is for a similar report to the coaches and participation numbers by sport. If we could have a similar report made for extracurriculars electives in the district, and then if we could have additional columns for information about if that's offered during the school day or if that's offered after the school day. So it would be like what that class elective activity is, participation numbers, if it's a during the school day thing, if it's an after the school day thing. That would be really helpful for us to kind of get scope of participation, engagement, and those types of things as well.
Mary, are you requesting it just for the high school or for the elementary and the high school?
So it would be helpful if it could be like middle school, high school, because that's what this is.
Okay.
And as far as I know, we don't have any, well, we might,
Just we just have our encore classes.
Yeah,
And
okay.
you know what that looks like.
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
For like the clubs at the high school or middle school, do the teachers who are called the sponsors, or do they get paid for that, or is it all voluntary?
It's voluntary for the most part. There are payment included in the teacher's bargaining unit for the class level sponsors at the middle school and high school level, or maybe just the high school level. I don't recall the full language at the top of my head, Cindy. I know for sure the high school grade level sponsors for those class of clubs.
They have team leaders
So I'll make sure.
at the middle school.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, Gary?
First of all, Andy, your staff, nice job. putting this together. You know, I really think you guys did a good job. My thinking is, as we head down the road, you know, it's been touched on about human relations and finance. That's a little touchy with me also. And the security also. And my thinking is that we could put together a small list of things that maybe we could re-implement if the finances are there in the fall. I mean, depending on the situation with
A
the
priority
state,
list. Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
it'd be nice to be able to do that. Things that are important, obviously having that security firm is nice. And this, going back with the finance and human relations, if that's something that we can afford, you know, because I think the most important thing going forward is never to have to go through this again. And we have to be cognizant anytime we want to spend money to say to Cassie, are we going to get in trouble? You know, and try to stay 2 or 3 steps ahead of this so this doesn't happen to us again. That's it. That's all I have.
Can I riff on that?
Sure.
So, Tom and I think we briefly chatted about this, is that I think in the future, maybe after the dust settles a little bit, maybe the board should look at our policy about our fund balance expectations and all of that, and reevaluating what should be our appropriate fund balance from year to year, and increasing that. And then also, the Michigan Association of School Boards offers a really fantastic school finance. There's a whole certification that you can get through them, but they have a really fantastic, it's called like the Anatomy of an Audit, which is a really great class that you can take. It's 3 hours long. I highly recommend it. I learned a lot. I would even retake it with you if anybody wanted to attend with me.
Okay.
They came in once before. Would they come in again, maybe?
Of course it would.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Might want to wait a few months.
Stacy?
I'm not sold on the necessity of having a clinic at the high school. That's one of them. I'm also interested in the options for the guard shack and with transportation, maybe a blend, but also those extra like after-school activities, that's all voluntary. So I'm assuming that even if there is a slight decrease in wages during their idle time, I'm assuming that people will still volunteer for that.
And then one last quick note for policy around school boundaries. The only one that I found is policy number 0113, and it reads in its entirety: the Monroe Public Schools District is comprised of the area in the description on file in the Board of Education office. Done.
I believe there's one that talks about the notification to parents and when we have to notify and when we, you know, to get engagement on things. And I think that redistricting is one of the ones in that policy. But I will add it to my notes if.
Is it, Mary, is that for internal redistricting or just external?
That was just called boundaries. That's the
Yeah, that's
policy called boundaries.
Boundaries.
Yeah, I think it was a
Okay.
notification. I think it was a notification
I'm looking at student
policy.
rights right now.
Okay. I had another question on transportation. What assumption are you using for diesel fuel costs?
So, yeah, it's, on the diesel fuel cost, that was an area Cass and I haven't dove in, going, okay, well, and Patty, like, okay, this number of miles, fuel,
Yeah,
and raising it. Obviously, that line item for fuel, it's gonna go up.
yeah.
You can't hedge against that. You get, like, you purchase fuel without what the
Yeah.
airline's trying to hedge on that.
Not right
No.
now.
Thank heavens.
No.
If you could have
No.
6 months ago.
Sure.
what'll happen is
which every farmer in this county did.
we're gonna
Yeah.
take a look at what we're currently paying, this very moment in time, what we were, perspective on where it's gonna go, and then balance it out for the whole year. And so when Cassie comes in, and you got a little bit, she does a budget, she'll go, okay, these are my big items. That would be a big item she'll highlight in
Yeah.
June to you, is like, okay, this is what we had to move up.
Okay. Then to kind of piggyback, I can't remember, maybe Gary said it, but, or Darla, facility rentals, we shouldn't be giving away our athletic fields. I mean, we should make sure that we're at least covering all our costs, plus even making a little bit of profit, because we did put, like, the football field, we put a lot of money into it a couple years ago. And even though we may be covering what we think are the costs, there's wear and tear on it. We should be making a little bit of money on it at least, and pocketing that money to cover potential repairs to the field or whatever, as well as the other facilities that we rent out.
Yeah, Fenmore, the cost there too.
Fenmore.
Yep.
Yeah. And even look to get in more buses and make more money.
Yeah.
Get Dale Zorn to retire. Sorry, Dale, if you heard that. That's okay.
Someone will.
I know, it's okay, I know Dale. Let me think, what else? That's probably the big things. I think anything else that I missed? A lot of things to do. The guard shack, a little bit, I'm a little concerned. I've seen a lot of areas where they've put in automatic gates or whatever, and I've never seen one that doesn't break down. That would be the only issue there.
But it would also require someone to man it or monitor it.
Monitor it
I
from
mean,
somewhere inside.
Someone's usually
Yeah.
watching that camera, so
Yeah.
whether they're sitting in the guard shack or they're
Yeah.
sitting somewhere watching a camera, you still employ a staff.
Yeah, right, but
What
you,
is it
Yeah.
to rent a high school football?
Yeah, what's the point of
Yeah.
doing that, right?
and that's probably it.
Do what?
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you all very much.
The gate out.
You know, we've said this before, this is some very difficult work. These are decisions that are tough to make. Appreciate the conversation. My team and I will go back, go over this information, and then you'll be getting more information back at you.
Okay.
Right? And it will be, it won't be this Friday, though, I can guarantee that, okay? But it will be, before the month of May is over, we can bring these to you. What I mean by that is I'll shoot another video, send it out to you, so you can see, okay, what have we done with an update on this document right here in your hands, too, and then we can, obviously, we'll talk about this again. I think it's on the agenda for June 8th, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
June
because, I'm going to bring this up. I understand the video. Like, I understand the explanation of all this on a video. My concern is that because that's happening, that conversation is not happening here. So a lot of that information that you gave on the video isn't necessarily, and maybe a portion of it is, I don't know, I didn't go point by point. The other part of that is, I know from the video, there was a board member that said, hey, I've already had all my questions answered based on the video. And then I'm like, well, I would like to hear what board members have to say about this entire financial topic. So my thing is the videos I don't think are, I think they kind of almost subvert the collaboration of of the board. That's my
I was just trying to
concern.
get the information to you. and
Yeah,
understand.
but you understand what it does though.
I do,
That was
I understand that, and it is very helpful. I just don't want to see that become the trend. I don't want to be communicating through
Right.
that vehicle. But for this particular process, I think it's been very helpful.
Yeah.
But I don't think moving forward, that's an area that we should.
I think it was
I'm good there.
versus a long email.
Sure.
This was much more
A-
beneficial.
Absolutely. Like I said,
Yeah.
I just don't want to see it become the norm
Well,
for how we
I
do
think
it.
this is a special situation with a lot of detail.
As long as we think that, and that's what we do, that's fine.
And as long as the topics on there are brought up in the board meeting as well for discussion.
Yeah, but
Huh?
I think we
Yeah.
covered pretty much everything that was on the video in our discussion. here.
Yeah, I'm just making note of it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we can take, let's take 5 minutes. Okay, before we get into, I know we have a lot of people waiting to talk about Trojan Academy here. 7:31 PM. And Andy, I think we were talking about Trojan Academy.
We are. So tonight, we would like to engage the board with a conversation around Trojan Academy. So back in the 23-24 school year, thank you, Steve came to us with the concept of Trojan Academy, and so we began that as a pilot. We're wrapping up third year. You've heard a lot about Trojan Academy over this period of time, the outcomes of it and what's going on. And so tonight, we would like to engage the board in this conversation because we'd like to move out of being a pilot program and then just being a regular program as offered by Monroe High School. And so we want to just get into that conversation. I know we put a lot of information in front of you, things that were requested. And so I'm going to give it over to Mr. Malalopsy for a moment right here, because I think he has a couple things he'd like to share.
Sure. So I know that Trojan Academy has been in here in the boardroom for a work session in December. I know that board members have heard a lot about it, whether that's from previous discipline hearings or new board members when they were first brought on, Gary and Stacy, doing a walkthrough with Steve in the Trojan Academy during building tours. We've seen a lot of success with the Trojan Academy, and we've learned a lot of lessons to how we provide students with alternative pathways and non-traditional learning, specifically to our at-risk students, and what that looks like for those students who are severely credit deficient, and providing them with ways to meet the standards and graduate on time. So with that, like to kick it back to the board for any questions.
And we have people here that are very much qualified to answer the questions too that you might have.
Just tell me when I'm up.
Why don't you, I think some of the concerns, Darla, came from you, if you want to start, or Carrie?
Well, it's just,
Or maybe if you want to kind of give us a quick recap of what we're doing moving forward, what the plan is to reach more students.
Yep.
or do you want to start with this?
Well, let's let Steve get a
So
little.
if
recap.
approved tomorrow, we plan on continuing offering Trojan Academy to students that are credit deficient. We've identified students already, 60-plus students that would be in our Trojan Academy in the upper and lower learning commons. And they would be receiving the services that we've been providing them, a non-traditional pathway for those students that I've explained in previous meetings.
Real quick, Steve, 60 additional students or 60 total?
60 total students. Some of them will be moved forward from this year to next year. We've had how many graduate so far, or this year?
School year?
Yeah, we've had 30, well, we plan on graduating 30, is it 4?
Is that the 35?
35 students this year,
We have
seniors.
12 left. 12 are still working on
Yeah.
finishing the
But
requirements.
the total will be 34.
Okay.
So the students left over from this year will move on to be sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and then we're adding more into the program.
Gotcha.
Yep. Also within our Trojan Academy Light program, that's students that are kind of in that hybrid. They take some in Trojan Academy, but then they also go out for some other classes. We've probably got another 100 or so in those classes as well throughout the day.
100 in addition to the 60, or?
Yes.
I think there's about 120 in Trojan Academy Light, and then the 60 plus the seniors that have finished, that have been through the program.
In Trojan Academy Light, I mean, it's essentially a space for students to go and receive credit recovery, correct?
Yeah, it's all the foundation of Trojan Academy Light is based off of everything that we've learned in Trojan Academy, so they're following the same principles that we follow in that program.
Students in Trojan Academy Light have 3 or less Edgenuity courses in their day.
And to be a part of it, and what really pushes a student into the Trojan Academy Light, it's back to they've failed a course or two. Is why
Yes.
they've probably
Yeah,
been in that
they've
situation
failed
mainly.
a course previously.
Yeah.
So they're taking some courses in the regular part of the high school and then some in
Yeah.
Trojan Academy.
Some are taking credit recovery courses, and there are several students who are taking, let's say, an English or a math class for the first time. But historically, they had failed those classes in the past, so we were trying this new pathway for them to be successful. Instead of waiting for them to fail, we're giving it to them in the online version.
And it's also important to point out that none of these students are forced to do this. There's conversations and meetings with parents about what's best for the student and options. So it's not like these decisions are made by any one particular person, and oftentimes there's a waiting list for students that want something, might be looking for something different.
We currently have about 115 students waiting to be in the program in some capacity.
Well, and everything that we do is based off of our SAT process, our Student Assistance Team process. So we look at data often, and we notice that students that may not have been successful as a freshman, or maybe an eighth grader coming into a freshman year, we take a look at their grades, we take a look at their history, we take a look at their reading scores, we talk to their parents, and we provide them different options that we have at the high school. Students that are struggling, the students that have struggling academically or behaviorally or with attendance, we do provide them an options, and the one pathway that we've been able to offer them recently over the last 3 years was Trojan Academy. If it's a full Trojan Academy experience, it's all based upon that rubric that we've presented to you before or talked to you about before. And we just kind of rank and score those students based off of that rubric, and that's how we decide on either a Trojan Academy experience or a Trojan Academy experience.
So one last question for the two of you. So from that first year to now, so what are some of the big takeaways, things that you learned? For example, is the rubric that we have today the exact same rubric you started with 3 years ago?
Well, excuse me. We didn't have a rubric when we started. We started with 15 students, then we grew to 30. And our support team, our staff, very passionate about students. And we were noticing as students were progressing through this, they were seeing success. So we would want more students in the program. So we were kind of lobbying for the students that we were working with, hey, to get them in there. And there were a lot of arguments, if you will, ones that I never won, by the way. So we put together this rubric that made the process a little bit more objective. It looks at the grade level the student is in. So if you're a senior, you receive more points than you would receive as a freshman. If you have 7 Fs, you would receive so many points than if you had 2. If you have an IEP, you would receive maybe more points. If you are homeless, or if you visit the social worker, you would receive more points than maybe somebody else would. So it made that decision a little bit more objective, so that we were really choosing the most needy student to go into that program. And then obviously, once we determined that student was eligible, then we would have a meeting with their family and the student and talk about the benefits of what this program is. It is a non-traditional pathway, so talking to them about maybe showing up to school at 9 o'clock is a different experience for some people. Going to one place within a high school and not having to travel around 6 different places is a unique experience for some families. So we really had to talk about what it is that experience is and what we learned about why it's beneficial for students. And it really made sense to parents, and it made sense to the kid. And then most of you have seen the room. Then we go and show them the space that we provided them. It really put them at ease as to this is a safe and it's a fantastic experience with a wonderful staff there to help support them through it that addresses all their needs. So long story short, we got the rubric there to help choose those students that really needed it most. And then we have a waiting list. I think Jen said 115 or so. She's got these numbers down.
Mandy and I just looked. It's
Okay.
about
She's like,
it's
wow.
115 kids.
115.
Yes.
She's got it down. where these are students that would be eligible for Trojan Academy, but we just don't have the staffing right now to be able to support them all.
And I want to say too that this came out of dialogue where it is, Monroe High will have students that because of credit deficiency issues, the opportunities for these students to graduate on time is at Orchard. And through dialogue with Steve and Jen, we care about our kids. We want to try and serve them here. And I completely understand that. Whereas offering something that looks a little bit different than Orchard, but keeps more students at Monroe High, and hopefully their stay in Trojan Academy isn't permanent. They want to push students out into traditional classes, CTE opportunities, athletics, and remove some of those barriers that do exist between the two different high school options that we have. So all this wasn't an attempt to keep the students at Monroe High that they care about and want to serve.
Yep.
Excellent. All right, thank you.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time on this because I spent a lot of time on everything because I want to understand everything. I want to be fair to everything. So I'm going to kind of start back at the beginning because as David alluded to, I became aware of Trojan Academy during a discipline hearing and then found out that they had toured and knew it. So prior to that point, I wasn't aware that it was a program because we were like, what is that? So I want to go back to the very beginning of it, and I'm looking at how does a pilot program get into a school? How does the process work? What are the policies and procedures to ensure that everything we're doing follows what the board policies have already been set? So the first thing I have like 8-9 points. So some will be really quick. So who authorized the pilot? I've asked that kind of in a couple different ways, but I wasn't quite sure of the answer.
Well, this started when Mrs. Joseph was my direct supervisor. I don't think David was here yet.
I'm talking about the pilot that started in 23 and
Correct.
24.
Yeah. I would have been the one that was given the final say.
Yeah,
to
so-
start the program.
I'm just asking because I never did get the answer.
Yeah, so Terry had brought to me some issues that were occurring. We planned around it. I sat with my support team, and that's when we developed a non-traditional pathway called Trojan Academy. And then I presented it to Andy and Terry.
So you authorized it?
And that's
Okay, I'm
that's
just
where-
asking,
and
like,
that's
it's
where we
not a
got-
loaded question, it's just an ask. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So, I mean, anything that I would want to start, any type of program, we usually start it as a pilot to see that's
Yeah.
something that we want to pursue.
so I have a list of policies here, and the policies are very relevant to the questions I'm asking because how this transpired doesn't equate necessarily with what our policies state. And that's the driving force for me behind everything. So, for example, on this one, I have 3 policies. The authority of the board is policy 121. The supervision is conducted by the Board of Education. And we have a policy, board powers is policy 122. And in H, letter H, and I'll get back to the other parts of the policy, it says, decisions regarding the use of experimental or pilot programs, including staffing use of technology or the impact on staffs of our bargaining unit, and that falls under a board power. So the fact that that didn't come to the board, I know we were on the board then, and it didn't come to the board, so that's why I bring that up, because a pilot can only be conducted according to policy, and that policy wasn't. The other part of that policy was decisions regarding the use of, I already did that one. I'm not sure how it fits under the letter K, because it talks about decisions and how you hire and increase positions and whatnot. So I'm not sure how that one relates. In the first part of that policy, the district is a body corporate and shall be governed by a school board. An act of this board is not valid unless approved at a meeting of the board by a majority of the vote of the members lawfully serving the board. So according to this, the pilot should have went to the board because the board held the authority over that. Because what ended up happening is you put a program together that does not follow, like, if you look at all this merit curriculum and you look at all these things that says, how do you operate a school system? Like, there is so many programs and stuff out there. This one didn't follow, wasn't, I choose the program that was done here or there. There was no reference to that. I know I asked for it a few times. So the graduation requirement policy is 5460. And in that policy, it clearly states what the graduation requirements are. And this program appears to have altered the graduation requirements do not fit with policy. I'm going down through this, and please.
Let's let Steve answer that.
Okay.
Was there a question?
I don't think that Steve Steve
Yeah,
should
this
not be
is
answering those
policy.
questions.
Yeah, I'm just pointing out policy stuff.
But I think the requirements for graduation.
Everything that
are
our
the same.
students do meets the requirements of
Yeah,
the state.
it's
I
nothing
mean, we've
different.
graduated 34 kids over the last 2 years.
Ingenuity has been around way longer than Trojan Academy for
Yeah.
credit
Yeah.
recovery.
Absolutely.
And
Right.
all of our students either earn the Michigan Merit Diploma or more. So Monroe High School requires 23 and a half credits for graduation. Some of our students meet that, and some of our students meet the 19 credit that Michigan Merit, actually, I think Michigan Merit is 18 credits, but we have TFT in there, so that's where the 19
So
comes.
it
So
qualifies.
all
under
of
the
our
graduation
students
requirements.
meet
Okay.
those requirements or they do not graduate.
Well, we,
So this is a discussion over the topics. So I looked up the policies. I'm giving you what I have seen. I don't know your program the way you do, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. The other part of it is, on policy 132.2, it says, provided that such action shall be reported. So I was like, okay, if, action is done in the district, and it was a necessity, I'll read the policy because it makes more sense when you read it. So in this one, it says the superintendent or his or her designee shall be delegated the authority to take necessary action in circumstances not provided by in board policy, but this is provided by because it's a pilot program. But being said that that is even not the case, provided that such action shall be reported to the board at the next meeting following such action. And that didn't occur either. So if we're looking at how do we implement things in the program, how do we, in the district, how do those things play out, how they operate, there's just not a correlation with policy that happened as a result of this. The other thing was, the bylaw, the policy 131.1 is bylaws and policies, and it says the board shall adopt, and it goes through that. And then the end of that sentence says the district shall be bound to follow. So, you have to follow the policies that are in here if you want to start a pilot program. So according to the policy, if you want to do a pilot program, you go to Andy and Andy comes to the board, or you bring it to the board and the board says, yay, this is something we as a district want to do. That's what the policy sets out. So in addition to that, board authority and the supervision of the district is policy 121, which the supervision of the district is overseen by the board. So there was no supervision over implementing a program that affected the students for which the board did not give an authority for, which according to policies, the board needs to give an authority for. So those were the main policies that I looked up and said, how do we do a pilot program? What do we follow? And I just don't see where the implementation of this followed any of that.
I guess I'm questioning you're going back to something that happened 3 years ago.
But this is the first time we've really been a body that's been able to deliberate on whether this pilot, like, you can't say, I started a pilot, I didn't follow policies, I didn't
But-
follow things, but it's so well.
I guess, what's the end? game
There's a
of your
vote on this
discussion?
tomorrow, so if you're gonna vote on a pilot that was never authorized the board to begin with,
And I
that's
believe
my-
the pilot was made to address graduation.
I'm not-
Our graduation rate, and how else would we get these kids to graduate, whether to implement programs that reach them?
I'm not suggesting that at this point. All I'm
This
suggesting
is
is
operational.
I just read you
This
the
is
policies.
procedural. This is.
But
this
I
is
just read you the
procedural stuff.
policies. If you want to do a pilot program, our policy clearly.
It's not,
That-
wait,
that
let's,
H and
hold
I
on,
don't know why
hold on.
everybody's like-
Parliamentarian moment. Let's
Thank you.
not go back and forth between each other. I think this is one of these deals where I
I'd
think,
like to see that H and K though, because that talked about
Good.
staff technology and staff devices, this is.
before you say
what that
something,
is.
I think this falls under exactly what we were talking about recently, which was, this is a discussion about Andy's performance within the policies and the processes. This has nothing to do with Steve or Jen or
And
the
they shouldn't be
program
answering to
or the
that.
program at this point.
Right, but
Right?
the
So
intent of
that's
the
what I see it.
discussion tonight
Yep.
is to prepare us to vote tomorrow.
I hear
on
that.
Taking it from pilot to a permanent program.
I hear that.
I'm suggesting, why are we voting on something that was never authorized by the board?
You could make
That's
that.
that's my point with pulling out these policies, according to policy. That was my whole point in bringing that up. I mean, it's just true. I mean, you may not like it.
No,
but-
I need to address this. This will help. The bylaw section in the Board of Education is the governance of the board. It's the rules of which is established by the state of Michigan to the board. For example, it has in there,
What policy are you on?
I'm looking at right down through, it. You have,
0121, your 0122H
Correct.
that you both quoted, that's for bylaws for us,
Okay.
not bylaws for how we govern this
That it
organization
permits-
and institution.
the use of pilot
Supervision of
programs.
the district.
It permits, so for example, it says how you come up with a name. What's the name of the district? Name. So
What policy are you on?
this is 0111. Name.
Oh, I didn't
Board of
read-
Education of the district shall be known officially as Monroe Public Schools Board of Education. Bylaws are your, that's your section. It talks about specifically on how you hire the superintendent, so it goes right through that. And so when you're going through here,
And on that one, the supervision of the district shall be conducted by the Board of Education. It's saying, we have the authority, the policy's called authority, to supervise the district. That is assigning that power to the board. That is 100% what that says. The supervision of the district shall be conducted by the Board of Education. I'm reading the
Yes.
policy and saying,
that's the authority presented to the Board of Education through MCL, is that's how the authority is provided to you. It wasn't provided to Monroe, City of Monroe, it's provided to the Board of Education that sits
to
here.
supervise.
Correct. And then the board goes through and talks specifically about the board powers, but my point of this all is that the policies we're referring to here are not a violation of the actions of what is being taken here, because the bylaws are your governance as a board.
For us.
So you're saying the policy that talks about pilot programs and how they're supposed to be approved by the board isn't part of it? I mean, I'm reading it
I'm
to
trying
you.
to see it right there again. You said it's 0122?
0122H.
It's called board powers, and it's talking about the powers that the board holds. And one of those is over a pilot program. And how do you bring about a pilot program in Monroe Public Schools according to this policy? That is a power of the board. You may not like where it's at in the position, but it's a board power.
No, so everything, at the end of the day, yes, everything is a board power. That's your right as an elected official. The board powers is what the state is saying, that you have, these are your rights as a board to do.
Right.
And so when you're digging in here, what you're saying is that you would then, is that every single time we do something, we need to bring it to the board for any kind of approval, because when
A
I
pilot
read through
program. It
No,
says
but I went-
experiment or pilot
when I
program.
read through here, every single thing would be brought to this board.
Well, Then that's what the policy
Because-
says. If that's what the policy says, then that's probably what we should be
But my
doing.
point is, this is the state providing you authority, but I know it gets into,
It's talking about bargaining agreements.
No.
That,
it's
yes,
talking-
that section above where you're talking about pilot programs. It says the board has authority based on statute to make decisions regarding the following subjects without resort to prior bargaining. And it's talking about how all of those things, including pilot programs, are not subject to bargaining agreements if the board agrees in these bylaws.
Yeah, but
That's what it's talking about. It's not talking about pilot programs in our education, like in our different buildings and different curricula that we're piloting. It's talking about within the scope of bargaining agreements. If we wish to establish a pilot of something, as a board, we can decide that through our bylaws to do that. That's the context of where this pilot program is mentioned. It's in the context of bargaining.
But if you're assigning staff to it, so here's what I'm getting at. The school can start a pilot program without board input that impacts the students of the board and without a laid out program that defines everything, like how many policies do we have that defines how things operate in a board? So you can disagree with me, that's fine. But what I'm saying is, this pilot program was
But I'm
never
not-
authorized, and we were never even notified that it was a thing.
But I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm reading what the policy states.
I get it. I'm reading policies as well.
But
Are
what
you
I'm,
sure that you weren't notified? I mean,
No.
I-
No, we found out in discipline hearing.
No, I've taken you through Trojan Academy.
No,
and
I
you
didn't
and
go
Tom-
through until the last
I took you
time.
and Tom, when you first got hired, or elected to the board, you went through.
No.
I
we
took
didn't-
you and Tom on a tour.
We did.
We didn't go through until after they did, because when they
Anyway,
told us
I-
about
We,
it.
we
Do
did
you have any
notify,
questions?
we did notify the board in September of '23 of the pilot program. Was it before the pilot program was moving? It was not, but we notified the board on September of '23 in board briefs.
But I would still argue that Edgenuity has been around for probably 20 years plus. My husband used to teach.
Missy
Edgenuity
Woodfill
classes.
had a similar program with the credit recovery using Edgenuity at Monroe High School for 10 years prior to this. This is almost a spinoff of what Missy started. We are just doing more than what she was able to do. We actually merged together last year, working together because this has been working. And Missy saw, and I think she would say that today if she was here, the good that it was doing for many kids in our school. And I just like to focus on the amount of kids that this has supported and will continue to support if this moves forward.
I wanted to get some clear, the rubric, those things help me. I'm trying to get as little ambiguity as possible, right? I want it to be fair for everybody
Yep.
to have a fair shot.
Yep.
And
We
when
do
you're
too.
telling me that, that makes sense.
Yep.
I do care how we got here. I think Darla's making a point. I do care how we got here. But now that we're here, I'm okay with understanding what you're doing and if it's beneficial. Now, I do have some concerns about the number of people that are trying to get into the program. At some point, the program is going to be bigger than itself, and you'll have to make some decisions on how you do that. And you will. I trust that you'll make good decisions and do so. But that, for me, was the biggest question, was what criteria. Here's the criteria, make it as objective as possible. There's going to be some ambiguity, I understand that. There's going to be some subjectivity, that it's not going to be as objective. I can live in that gray area. That only covers 5%, 10%. I can live in a gray area of 5 or 10%. You know, if it was 50%, that's not acceptable. But I feel confident with what you shared. I think what you're hearing here is more of a board problem with how this happened. And I don't want to get tangled up in the board problem on how this happened.
Right.
So that's why I hope we all can now stay on, we'll stay on point with, but I still think that is one of those conversations that we've talked about
A separate conversation.
that should be part of,
Yeah,
And that's fair enough,
A
but
question I have.
I wasn't
When you go
done.
from pilot, say we approve you tomorrow permanent, are there any changes that you envision, or is it pretty much keep with what you're doing?
Yes, we would like to have a supervisor over the program that oversees the program. That would be, we would like that to be Jen. Right now, she's having to split her time between her special education caseload and Trojan Academy, which makes it difficult for her to do all the things that need to do oversee the program. So that would be one major thing that we would need. And then we would need to obviously maintain the staff that is used to support it. We have right now 2 teachers, one upstairs and one downstairs, an assistant and interventionist.
Do you think you'll need more staff? At the present, what you're seeing, what we got 115 students waiting, are we gonna need more staff?
So we would also need someone that handles the Trojan Academy Light. I guess it just depends, our goal, if we could get this with younger, like you said, how do we affect students quicker, those 115? I think the earlier we can get them, the better. We met with Lauren from ESS, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? A few weeks ago. She works for the county, and she has actually it's strikingly similar to Trojan Academy, where they provide services, academic services to students that are in the judicial system. And she recommended us 8 students from there that are going to be 8th graders, going to be 9th graders next year. So we're really working closely with her because many of the students that she services would be perfect candidates for Trojan Academy. But again, I think the earlier we start them, and we work on the basic skills that they need to be successful people, successful in school, then we can get them out to many of those other classes that they would enjoy. And then eventually, hopefully, they can get the foundational skills enough to take a math class or to take an English class. Like, we want them out and about in the building, but they've got to start somewhere. And Trojan Academy is a great startup for them.
How many kids have you, sorry.
Yeah.
How many kids have you been able to successfully transition
I'll let you get it.
out of that block
So-
into the normal working day? And maybe it's not, I know they may not spend the whole day there, maybe half the day there. Do you have any idea?
Yes.
So out of 145 students who have stuck with the program, 55 of those students have been in other classes outside of Trojan Academy.
And they've taken more than one class. So like
Yeah.
we've had students take
So-
welding, automotive.
Yeah. Some students prefer more classes out, and some students prefer not to leave the room. We've had students try to take Spanish, for example, and we've almost co-taught with our Spanish teacher, trying to support kids in going into that classroom environment, and that just didn't work for some of the kids due to different things like anxiety or whatever reasons, right? And so they elected to stay in the class and took an Edgenuity form of Spanish this year. So it just depends on the student, really.
I mean, I think it's important for you to make that a goal because we have to get in the workforce, and the workforce, they don't make special concessions whether you have anxiety or not. And I have anxiety. So, but no one makes a special concession for me. They understand I work through things. That's not what I'm saying, but we're going to have to be able to push these kids out.
Sometimes it's due to credits.
Sure.
So if a student comes in very credit deficient, they wouldn't have as much time in their day to do an elective course. So they need to get those cores done first. So that affects that number. But for the most part, students who want that opportunity have had that opportunity or are on a list to get into the welding program or different activities.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna finish here with one I've got. So when you talk about credit recovery, like where, again, I'm looking for policies, I'm looking for handbook, I'm looking where credit recovery and what's the definition of that and how has that been determined, to be able to be a thing?
So to take a credit recovery course, the student has had to take that class in the past and not been successful. I don't have a counselor here to verify, but there might be a percentage that they had to earn in order to be eligible. Can you answer that?
In the class?
Yeah.
So credit recovery is based off of the essential course outcomes. Some of them may have passed most of them, some of them may not have passed any of them. But Ingenuity, you're able to assign a certain percentage of the course based off of the essential course outcomes that they've completed.
So the credit recovery is done through the Ingenuity program?
Yes.
Exclusively?
Yes, and that was going on, like I said, that was probably 10 years prior to Trojan Academy. Missy Woodfill started that program in the Upper Learning Commons. I can't remember the Learning Center, what it was called.
So that program could be used in the absence of Trojan Academy because they can go on and use the.
So what we were noticing was that students were repeaters in that program. They were not successfully completing the next class that they attempted. So that's when we, like I said, we merged with Missy last year because there were students who were not historically passing their math, their English, their science. So instead of waiting for them to fail that class, they go through it like the rest of their peers. We would offer that in a full course, saving them time instead of waiting for them to fail the course.
So as attendance, and I think we hit on this before, and tardies, I know you said that their time to come to school and their time to be at school differs from other students. So how does the current attendance and tardy policy apply through Trojan Academy if they don't have start end times and they don't?
Could I take that, Steve? So we work with our auditor who works with pupil accounting, and we use certain sections of the pupil accounting manual for online learning and virtual learning to make sure that everything is kosher. Next year, Trojan Academy plans to fill out a alternative program waiver, which Innovative, thank you. An innovative program waiver should Trojan Academy continue, and that's just another layer of communication that acknowledges that those students will not be physically in school for the 1098, which every traditional student is or does, and they are more similar to our students in virtual at Orchard who don't have to come to school at all. But they take attendance with two-way communication throughout the course of the week to make sure that everything is tight with attendance.
Because
Yes.
Because Orchard, I believe the conversation was Orchard had gotten a waiver to do what they do, but you didn't have a waiver to do what you do. So you're suggesting that you're going to get a similar waiver, or are they going to be different?
We've
applied
for the
Okay,
waiver.
is it the same as what Orchard's using?
I'm unsure of what.
Exact same.
For virtual does not, because that is strictly virtual, but because this program is at Monroe High School, they need to fill out the innovative waiver application.
But Orchard and Orchard School and virtual are two different entities.
Orchard does
They
not.
are-
Orchard does not fill out. They haven't filled out the alternative school waiver the past couple of years because we've extended the day. So those students
So they
do.
didn't need to do that.
So those students don't need to do that. However, the 3 classrooms at the east end of the building, which are virtual,
Right.
they're virtual.
Right, so they don't even fall in any of those.
Correct.
But because this is a blended in-person and virtual, you have to get a waiver in order to do this.
Yes.
So how did that apply over the last 3 years?
We've worked with our auditor from the county to take, we have a county auditor with the ISD that comes in to make sure that we are reporting attendance correctly to the state.
Okay. But the waiver is more than just attendance, right? The waiver is
It's
just
a
strictly
waiver
attendance.
for the hours that students are required to be
Okay.
in the building.
And so what was the thought on that? How many hours did you have to put in for a certain amount of hours? Like that you thought a student would?
There was a minimum.
What's that? What's that?
941 something.
I'm looking at a day hour.
Oh,
Oh, what is it? It was It was
Right.
less.
The math.
We would have to go back and look at the waiver
Yeah, I was
to
just
give you
going
that
because the
exact number.
conversation
I'm sorry.
came up, Like,
Sure.
yeah, 5.5 hours straight, thank you. We already talked about the Michigan Merit Curriculum, and that's not an issue. Program accountability and eval, policy 2605. So
They shouldn't be answering questions about policy.
I'm just putting it.
Those should be addressed to Andy.
So I'm going to guess that you evaluate your program, which is how you came up with this, that on your evaluation of the program on how successful it is, because when you come and you tell me your program's successful, you evaluate it by some terminology, right? So the terminology that that's what I'm asking. Is it just the graduation rate? What is the
Behavior, attendance, graduation rates, all of those things are taken into consideration. The students who are now in Trojan Academy were not coming to school before. They are coming more often.
Kids that have jobs.
We have students who are in college right now who probably would not have graduated. They would tell you that.
Yeah. So it's not just graduation
No,
rates.
it's behavior. So we don't have as many suspensions.
Attendance, like the measurement from students that where they started to where they are now is, it's immeasurable.
I'm not suggesting that there hasn't been a lot of successes in what you did,
No,
and
I-
my apologies if you thought that's what it was. But I'm just wanting to make sure that everything we do, because it affects a lot of students in this district. And so I'm just doing my process, and that's why I brought that up. So you have an evaluation tool that you use and whatnot. Yeah.
Do your students take the M steps and the SAT steps?
Sure do.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a district requirement.
Requirement. Is there a way to evaluate their performance? When I go into schooldata.org, I see Monroe High School, but is there any way to
They would-
separate Trojan Academy out of Monroe High
They're
School?
included in Monroe.
We probably could create a subgroup
Yeah,
within.
because I can see Orchard separate.
Maybe once it's not a pilot.
Yeah.
I would actually want that if we could have that a separate drop down in Power School where we could keep all of our data separate. That'd be very helpful.
Yeah, we would like eventually, if this gets passed tomorrow, for Trojan Academy to separate school within Power School.
Yeah, that would be hard too, because many of your students, as you said, have other needs within the district. So they're already qualifying as a subgroup somewhere else,
Yes.
as a minority, as a special ed student, what have you. So now you're adding in another subgroup. So yeah, you're kind of comparing the same kids over and over.
Right. So when you have a student, and I think I remember you saying this before, is the amount of time a student would spend in a classroom can vary. So Carrie may be in a more traditional classroom for 75% of classes, and 25 may need to use Ingenuity and so how does that work? And I may need to be 25% of in person. So how does that work when you're looking at your numbers?
So this is a very specialized program. It's why it takes a lot of work within our sport team to identify students and what their needs are. Some students may not need a full Trojan Academy. Like the students that need the full Trojan Academy be scoring high in that rubric. And then as we're looking at the students that may fall a little bit lower in the rubric, we look at them a little bit more in depth where they may be just failing English courses and passing everything else. So it's very flexible, and it's very data driven as to how we would design a student's day and what it would look like.
But you would count all of them as a Trojan Academy,
Yeah. If they're-
regardless of where they fell in any of that. So if they do one thing with Trojan Academy, they're considered in Trojan Academy.
Yeah, I think.
I think Trojan
don't get
Academy
that.
is a service and not a place. So I really want to think of it like that. It's not a place where you're sent. It is a service we are providing to students who are struggling and need a different pathway. So I to say they're there, that's hard to explain because
Only because we sell the space, so I thought that in
that
my
is
mind,
where the
there's
kids who are there for
space,
the
that's where
majority
they're
of their
going.
day. They do spend
Right.
the majority of their day there, but then we have students who, like I said, we have the Trojan Academy Light, we've been calling it, because they need less of a day. They might just need one Edgenuity course, so they aren't taking that seat because, again, we only have the 60 seats for the more intensive version of the program. But when we're thinking about customizing a schedule for a student, I work closely with our school counselors every single day. We just had a new student join. We have a senior finish. We have a new student come in who would be in the program next year. They're not passing their courses in the 6-hour day. So we customize their schedule to meet their needs. But that's based on each individual student, so that it's hard to answer on what that number looks like.
Yeah, because that's what we have as numbers. We have numbers of how many each year that are in the program. So, yeah, that's why I'm trying
So
to
overall,
understand
in
your
the
numbers.
umbrella would be about, if it's 180 students this year that we've somehow provided the service to. Some students more, some students less, but it's about 180 students.
But would they all follow into the need of the waiver? They all
No,
necessarily
not all.
wouldn't follow. And you see how I'm trying
Yeah,
to like,
not all.
like how do these categories fit? Because, if we're looking at, 50% of our population benefits from Trojan Academy and that's the new pathway, well, we've really altered
The number of students,
education of Monroe Public Schools.
I'm so sorry, I did not mean to cut you off.
No, you're
The
good.
number of students I would say that would need the waiver would more be our students who arrive on the 9 o'clock bus. Because they're not there from 7 until 2. So, but that's a very small percentage. I think we have 23 kids riding the 9 o'clock bus. We do have some kids who, well, I work with transportation all the time. Patty, Eddie, love you guys. Thank you for all your help. Shout out there for them. But we do have some other students who transport themselves or their parents bring them. So it's more than 23, but it's not 180.
So the things that
I could figure that out too.
the things that we really need to be proud of within Monroe Public Schools is the ideas of high schools was based off of like the old Ford model, the assembly line. Like you go in, you take your English, math, science, social studies, and that's what everyone had to live within. And that system doesn't work for everybody. So what we've been able to create over the last 3 years with a lot of hard work and a lot of teamwork is a system that we feel any student could be successful in. But it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of creativity and a lot of working together and a lot of creativity and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And all of this stuff has to go in because we take a look at every kid and say, you are going to graduate no matter what. You're going to graduate, and we're going to find out a way to do it within all the rules that the state allows us. And the state gives us so much flexibility to graduate kids. It's amazing, all the different things that we can do to be creative to help kids. And we have just taken advantage of that, everything that the state has given us. And did Trojan Academy look the same back 3 years ago than it does now? No way. No, but that's the beauty of it. The beauty of it is we are adapting to our population, we're adapting to our students, we're adapting to our needs, we're adapting to what the parents are asking, we're adapting to what my staff is asking, and we're making it happen for them. Like I had to say it, 34 kids, and I know I've said this the 3 times I've been up here, 34 kids who had no shot of graduating have walked across that stage. And these are kids that I didn't know. I didn't know 3 years ago. And we're making it happen for them. And we've had how many so far already finish our program successfully? And we're going to get 16 more in 2 weeks.
I think one of the things I brought up before, based on what you just said, was providing services for students. And I think our services should be provided for all students.
Yes.
So my comment in my conversation, ChatGPT will tell me if I'm right on what I say or not. But the thought is that having these services are beneficial to all of our students, so why do we need a separate Trojan Academy for the multitude of students that you're discussing? Why not just have a Trojan Academy for the subgroup that is maybe your 30, 40 students, and everybody else can have benefit of, so I didn't pass English, and so I know that there's an opportunity for me through Ingenuity to get my credit.
Okay.
So why do they have to go through a Trojan Academy? Why can't we do that elsewhere? That's my question.
Trojan Academy is like, we decided to name it Trojan Academy. Like, I think did I come up with a name?
I might have.
It's Monroe High School. It's Monroe High School, but we call it Trojan Academy because there's specific things that was founded on that we value as a whole school. But within these spaces, these are the things that we focus on to make a difference for kids. It would be great for all of our kids. And in many classrooms, we do these great things. But in these specific areas, these are the areas that we focus on. We get, every morning, Pam and Terry go get breakfast for these kids to make sure they have food all day long. It addresses the specific needs of these students. It's available to any student if they have the proper requirements within our rubric. But many of these things do happen in math classes. It's just these specific students need this for now.
Okay. Any questions, Stacy, Gary, Mary?
I would just like to chime in and say that this is an example of what a student-centered approach is. It's also an example of when you have finite resources, right? Because Trojan Academy Light, those programs have finite resources, finite number of staff, finite space, finite capacity. So they've created this rubric system to essentially make like an admissions process to make sure that they're getting the students that have the most urgent needs into those programs. So I don't think it's prohibitive saying like, haha, you can't be in Trojan Academy. This is an elite place that only certain people can get in. I think they're making really tough decisions because we would love to offer this to more people, but we just have limited resourcing to do the things that we need to do. And so we're making difficult decisions. And I'm saying we, even though it's not me, you all are making difficult decisions to focus in on the students that need the most intense help first. So I would like to say thank you for what you're doing. Fun fact, I didn't go to Trojan Academy, but I graduated from a program that is very, very similar to Trojan Academy. And had I not had that, would not have graduated from Big Ten University, would not have my master's degree, would not be in a doctoral program right now. So
Awesome.
thank you.
For you.
Ryan, Carrie, anything more?
I just wonder, with it being like a hybrid program and focusing on graduating at-risk students, is there any chance of getting funding for the staff or resources?
Actually, we, go ahead, do you want to?
I don't know about the staff part of it, but for like field trips, and you saw all the furniture that we have and this some of the reward systems that we have, we received a grant through the Community Foundation to pay for those extras.
Yeah, and we are working with Val and the Community Foundation. There is actually a fund in Jen's dad's name where people can donate towards the fund that goes towards at-risk students. So we're really working with the community, and the community is really getting behind a lot of the things that we're doing for Trojan Academy.
So this is personal for you as well? Sounds like.
It's become personal. Yes. I asked my mom to do that because I care about these kids so much and I want them to continue to have these opportunities. Should we not get a grant through the Community Foundation in the summer, I would like to be able to dedicate those funds to Trojan Academy. So yes, it has become that for me.
And we've seen it, one of the young ladies that we sent there on a discipline hearing, see her in the community foundation involved. Very
Yeah, she has an internship
Yeah.
with the Community
Very
Foundation,
good,
and
very good.
Val met her through one of our programs that we had for the community. It's a lot of beautiful things have come out of it. A lot of learning has come out of it. It has been a great experience over the last 3 years. It has not been easy, but every single kid and every single success story has been worth it.
I have one last question. The additional staff that you mentioned, is that on this page? Okay, thank you.
Oh, it's already been included on there?
That's right.
Okay.
There's one item right there that.
good question.
Okay.
Anything else? I guess we're finished with the agenda items. So next is. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yep, thanks again, Steve.
Yeah, thank you.
Jen? Do we have any public commentary?
Yes, we do, Mr. Heck.
Okay,
We have two. Melody, if you'd like to make your way to the front. We don't have our newfangled timer yet. I'm not going to push up anything. I'm going to tell you at 1 minute. You have 3 minutes, and I'm going to tell you when you reach 1 minute.
I have,
Is that fair?
I only need 3 copies, but I have visuals.
Okay.
I'm a mom. So my daughter.
We'll share.
So this is my daughter. I'm just going to read this really quick and try not to be emotional. I just want to take a couple minutes to talk about what a difference Trojan Academy has made in my daughter's life. She has always struggled with a learning disability and had an IEP since she was in 2nd grade for dyslexia. When she started her freshman year, she quickly fell into a group of friends that we didn't care for. And I'm going to say she got into some ugly stuff. She slept in most of her classes, struggled like crazy trying to do the classwork that was assigned, and got so far behind that none of the work made sense to her. I installed Google. I'm sorry.
You're okay.
I installed Google Classroom on my phone and laptop. I printed assignments and worked with her almost every night and weekend. I tried so hard just to get her to pass with B's. And we fought a lot. We fought every night and weekend. She didn't want to do the work and had gotten into a deep depression. This went on for her freshman and sophomore years. She had 2 serious suicide attempts where she was admitted into the ICU. Then we met Miss Bomia, and was told about Trojan Academy. She came home and told me about it, a little bit excited. Starting at the beginning of her junior year, she would be in the Trojan Academy room. She would be working 1 class at a time, not trying to judge 6 classes at once. It started at 9 a.m., and there was special bus transportation and the field trips, both fun trips as well as educational ones for future careers. They would give the kids a break time so that they could breathe during the day. Breakfast was in the room when they arrived in the morning, and a calming, dim-filled room with comfortable seating as well. I was hesitant at first. If I couldn't help her at home, how could a program like this help her at all? Wouldn't the kids get bored working on the same subject every day? But I allowed her to try it out. The first year of the program, my C's, D's, and F's student finished the year with a 3.4 GPA. She was all A's and B's. It was an adjustment. She is a rule pusher, so she had to have a few talkings too. But she learned the expectations, and there are teachers available in the room, and she learned she could ask for help if she was struggling with her day's work. Sometime during her sophomore year, she started having severe pain in different parts of her body. It took a couple years to figure out, but she was finally diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. The team in Trojan Academy worked with her through the day in and day out issues that come up with an autoimmune disease. During flare-ups where it would hurt to move, the staff would meet her at a side door so she didn't have to walk as far to get to the classroom. And during severe flare-ups, she only had a couple that were severe. She couldn't get out of bed. They would allow her to work from home, checking in with them multiple times a day. Now we are in her senior year. I cannot begin to tell you the changes I have seen in her this year. She sets her own alarm and gets up every morning on her own. I think she's only overslept once. She has started driving, so some mornings she's off to Starbucks to start her day right. She is happy going to school most days and comes home in a good mood. The teachers and staff there are so supportive and uplifting to these kids. In December, she was about to complete her semester's work 1 week early and would only have one more class when the second semester started to graduate. She was so driven her fall that she went into the second semester's work to get done early. And now the child I didn't think would graduate or go to college is excited to go on to college. She can now see a bright future ahead. I would love to give a huge shout out to all the staff that run that classroom. Mrs. Close and Mrs. Poupard are the two greatest examples of structure, but love and support. I've worked closely with them throughout this program, but I know there are so many more that are also changing these kids' lives. And by the way, she currently has a 3.865 GPA.
Amazing.
So
Great story.
it's, and to answer a couple questions about how they choose, like if you fail one class, you can go to summer school for part of the summer, but she had failed so many, she was in over her head. And she was going to drop out the second she turned 18. She was going to quit school. So now this child has a plan for her future. So they changed our lives.
Thank you for sharing, Melody.
Is she going to walk graduation day?
Yes, she
Great.
is.
Good.
Yes.
One of us is going to get a chance to hand the diploma to her.
Yeah.
Actually, I think she wants to come and speak tomorrow. So
I like it.
she
I
wanted to come.
encourage her to do that.
Okay.
Yes, please.
So
Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing.
Thank you so much,
Really.
Melody. And then we have Jackie.
Do you want your papers back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
I actually would love a copy of those if anybody
Okay.
wants to
I'll,
share with me.
yeah.
Hi.
You've got 3 minutes, but I let her go longer than 3 minutes as long as you're talking.
All right, well, thank
Making
you very
sense.
much. My name is Jackie Close. My students call me Mrs. Close. And I have been a math teacher in the district since 2014 when I got hired. I also student taught with Jim Midlosky the year before that. And I have loved my experience with Monroe Public Schools. I've been in Trojan Academy for the past 2 years now, this year and last year. And from the very beginning, I knew this was where I was meant to be. I have always gravitated towards the students who I just knew needed something different. Even when I was in the math classroom, those were the students that I took upon myself to claim as my own. They were my kids. And getting to be a mentor in this program has been a very positive change in my life. Every day I walk into my classroom knowing I'm not just teaching subjects, I'm building relationships, and I am a true second parent to these kids. Because they're with me a lot of the day, I truly get to know them. And I often tell people that I spend my days raising teenagers. I'm getting a lot of experience for my 7 and 9-year-old at home because I care about them so much, like they're my own kids. Many of our students are balancing things that no teenager should have to face alone, recovering from surgery, dealing with unstable housing, raising their own children, working nearly full-time, supporting their families, babysitting their siblings, or quietly battling their own mental health, which we see a lot of. For them, the traditional school model can feel overwhelming and impossible. And like we heard, they want to drop out. They want to be done. They don't feel like there's a different path for them. And so the truth is, though, that they're not incapable people. They are not unmotivated. They're incredibly smart and resilient and full of potential. At Trojan Academy, we give them both a chance and the full support of Monroe High School. Our students have access to social workers. They're connected with supports like ProMedica. And even though they spend most of the day in one classroom, they're not isolated. They're part of our larger school community. Many of them even participate in extracurricular activities after school, like sports and various clubs. We work to remove barriers. We slow things down. We focus on their learning. We help them build not only academic skills, but life skills and social emotional strength, because we know that employers, like you had mentioned, are looking for people who can function day to day, not call in sick, and because of anxiety and work through those moments. So we work specifically on those things with these students, and the transformation that we're seeing is very, very exciting. And especially for me as an educator, to get to see that from start to finish and where they end up is very rewarding. It's the most rewarding job I've ever held. I have watched students walk into my classroom completely shut down, withdrawn, wearing masks, struggling just to get through the day. And over time, I've seen them transform, smiling again, believing in themselves, setting goals, achieving things that they once thought were impossible. I've seen them become confident, capable young adults who are ready to step into the world and contribute to their community. That transformation, that moment when a student realizes, I can do this, I'm going to finish high school, and I don't have to drop out, that's why I go to work every day. Recently, our community showed an outpouring of support for social emotional programs within Monroe Public Schools, and that support matters because the need is very real. There are students right now who need this pathway, students who won't succeed unless we meet them where they are and walk alongside them, and Trojan Academy gives us that walking path to success. We have found a model that works, and we are continually working to make it even better for students we serve today and for those who will walk through our doors tomorrow. Going back to the social emotional supports and the outpouring, what we saw in the community for that, we attend adventure camp, and we do a lot of team building with our students because they have to be able to work with those 30 kids that I have that I teach every day in the same room all day long. We have to be able to function together in a positive way. And so we go and we do team building activities, which helps them build that anxiety or get better at managing that. And we're doing things within the classroom each day to build those skills for them. And so this is so much more than a credit recovery. This is life training. So I just wanted to add that in, that we are strategically working on those things for those students, not just getting them a credit. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, board member commentary. Brian?
I reserve the balance of my time.
Gary?
I'll chat tomorrow night.
Okay, Darla?
No, I'll put mine tomorrow night.
Mary?
So the board policies that were brought up around the use of pilots and all of that, I really think it would behoove the board to actually read through policy 0121, policy 0122, and then also to read policy 0132.2. Those were all brought up to kind of underscore what was thought to have basically said that the pilot program of Trojan Academy was founded without appropriate approvals. So everything that starts with a 0 is for board bylaws. That is for our governance of this board. Yes, it's to basically say that the board oversees the school district, but in those policies, it talks about how we can interject regardless of existing contracts. So I think it would be really important that instead of just reading the excerpt that contains the word pilot program, that we actually look at the policy and read it as it's intended to be read in its entirety and consider that, because from reading all three of those together, especially the one about administrative guidelines, I don't believe that the pilot program was made in breach of any policy of Monroe Public Schools.
What was the last policy? It was 132?
It was 0132.2 administrative
Point
guidelines.
two. Okay. Okay. Gary?
No, I've got nothing.
Stacy?
I'm good.
Okay. And I just, again, I want to thank Andy and his team for the budget work. I think they've got a format going forward. They'll be able to, year to year, do this much more efficiently. So, lessons learned. And thank you to everybody from the Trojan Academy. Really appreciate answering our questions.
We should let you guys go first, but
Right.
we want to really see how much you would persevere.
Yeah. Thank you for sticking through the budget talks. Okay. Okay, so that completes our agenda. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Earn a motion.
Do I have support? Show of hands?
Yay.
The Monroe Public Schools Board of Education special work session for Monday, May 11th, 2026 is adjourned, and the time is 8:40.